Welcome to Violent Vinyl Radio, where we break down the best hair metal albums from the 80s and the 90s. So grab that volume knob, crank it up, and enjoy the show.
Live from the VVR studios in sunny downtown Boston, it's showtime. Welcome to Violent Vinyl Radio. I'm your host, Des, and as always, I'm joined by my two co-hosts. First up, the podcaster, holding all the aces, Dangerous Dave.
Hello, everybody.
And last but not least, the podcaster who likes the dark side of the beach, Lisa.
When I die, nobody cry at my funeral. In fact, let's all have a party. I've lived the life of 10 men. I've lived all my dreams and more.
Aw, poor Robin
R.I.P.
Crosby.
Robin.
So
Yeah.
sad. That was such a sad documentary. It really was. But he's right.
That's right.
Fucking did kick some ass.
Yep.
As always, the mission of this show is for us to introduce each other and you, the listeners, to albums and bands which you may never have heard before, while also discussing the classics. So sit back and enjoy the show before we get started. So, I got white coat syndrome. I fucking do not like the doctor, okay? Haven't had a physical since my wedding.
Oh my God.
Back in 2003, okay?
All right.
So yes, I avoid that. The dentist, I'm fine. No problem with the dentist, but the doctor, I just do not like the doctor because they get, like, dentist isn't going to tell you you're going to die, right? Fucking doctor, give you bad news. So I had my wife finally was just like, you're getting a physical. I don't give a fuck. You're getting, so it was like a little kid. She like dragged me to the doctor, kicking and fighting. If you listen to the show, you know I'm fucking insane, right? Like, I don't need to see a doctor. I need to see a fucking psychiatrist. But anyway, so we get there. I'm so nervous. I'm literally like sweating through my t-shirt. I'm fucking vibrating. The nurse lady comes in, you know, she's taking my vitals, talking to me, getting some information. And she leaves. I'm like, was that bad? She's like, dude, you're fucking crazy. The doctor comes in. He's like, hello. So my assistant tells me that you are crazy. And we go through the physical, and he's like, maybe next time you come in, you're not so crazy. I'm like, we'll see. So, but anyway,
Did you get a lollipop at the end?
I did not get a lollipop, but I got a clean bill of health.
Okay,
he says
that's
I
good.
am very healthy.
That's better than a lollipop.
Yes. So anyway, there you go. I'm good for another year.
All right.
Dave, can you please tell the listeners where they can find this fine podcast?
We are available on most podcast outlets. Also, check us out on YouTube. If you can give us a listen and tell a friend, we'd really appreciate it. Like, subscribe, and share. You can find us on our social medias at Instagram, VVR Podcast Insta. That's VVR Podcast Insta on Instagram. And on Facebook, we are at Violent Vinyl Podcast.
Awesome. Guys, wherever you're listening, stop the podcast right now and give it a fucking like. Definitely helps. And of course, leave a comment because it helps the algorithm. And with that being said, let's head over to the mailbag and let's head over to one of our favorite listeners at AM3986, who always takes the time to hit the like button and drop us a little message. He writes today, this album, talking about ZZ Top, was a tough listen and Dave should be put into timeout for the suggestion.
Womp womp.
I agree. I had to listen to some Buck Cherry after the podcast to get some emotional relief.
Woof.
No, Buck Cherry's awesome. Buck Cherry's like a real hair metal band with no hair. I fucking love Buck Cherry.
Not a fan.
They were
Not a fan.
recently touring with Skid Row, I believe.
I love Buck Cherry. I love that dude's fucking giant fucking king card tattooed on his back. They're so badass. Great podcast as usual. Keep up the good work. And as always, let the music breathe. Thanks for writing in, buddy. We appreciate it. And next, at D. Beverly. He writes in regards to the LA Guns Cocked and Loaded episode, he writes, the album rules. They came through my little town a couple of years later promoting Hollywood Vampires. They were excellent live. I still listen to this album routinely. I usually keep Sleazy Cum, 17 Crash, I'm Addicted, and Give a Little off. I really love the shorter runtime this way. I know it's blasphemy and borderline evil to do this to an album, but I think it's a much tighter album without those tracks. Thanks for the deep dive and great stuff. It's a much shorter album without those tracks. But you know what? I'm guilty of doing this to some of my favorite albums too, you know? Okay.
You know, it's great. I did not get as much hate mail as I expected for the last podcast. In fact, I think more people agreed with me.
Apparently.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, I think you
yeah.
had the hot take on that ZZ Top album. Okay. Tonight, we will be discussing Invasion of Your Privacy, the second studio album by Ratt, produced by Bew Hill, released on May 30th of 1985 on Atlanta Records. 1985, what a magical time. What a magical time to be alive.
Sure
15
was.
years old, tech was booming, video games, movies, Batman. Oh, it was just a magical time to be 15 years old. The album peaked at the number 7 spot on the US Billboard 200. The band's lineup was as follows: Stephen Pearcy, lead vocals; Robin Crosby, lead guitar, I guess, rhythm guitar, and backing vocals; Warren DeMartini, smoking greasy lead guitars and backing vocals; Juan Crochet with the boom and bass, the great backing vocals; and Bobby Blotzer with his amazingly produced booming banging drums. I love this lineup. Oh boy. Okay. Let's do some band facts on this one. I'll give you the first one. This fucking band rules. Dave, what do you got?
All right. Stephen Pearcy started playing in bands in 1973, before I was born. By 1976, the band was known as Mickey Ratt, with a logo featuring a gutter version of a Mickey Mouse-like character. They wisely changed that up so they didn't get sued by Disney. The band at times had featured bassist Matt Thor, who would go on to play in Rough Cut, and Jake E. Lee, who would go on to play in Ozzy's band. Additionally, for a short time, Mark Torian, who would become the lead singer for Bullet Boys, was playing guitar for the band. He's actually a great guitar player from what I've heard.
He is. And if you ever watch any of the live videos of Bullet Boys, even now, when they break into that guitar solo for Smooth Up In Ya, he fucking rips it on a Les Paul. He's a good player. I like it. Kind of reminds me of like Tom Kiefer a little bit. Like really good singer, really good guitar player.
Yeah. Ratt benefited from many showbiz connections. Their manager was Marshall Burl, whose uncle was Hollywood big shot Milton Berle. This is how they got Uncle Milty to appear in their Round and Round video from the first album. Also, because guitarist Robin Crosby had dated Tawny Kitaen, she appeared as the cover model on both their debut EP and their Out of the Cellar album, also appearing in the Back for More video.
Like it.
Until she jumped ship to Whitesnake.
Oh, God. Poor
Yeah.
Tawny. She made the rounds.
The model on Invasion's cover is Playboy Playmate Marianne Gravate from Hollywood, California, who also made an appearance in the Lay It Down music video. Using a hot lady model on an album cover became a trend copied by many glam bands of the 1980s. She was Playboy magazine Playmates of the Month for the October 1982 issue, then as the 1983 Playmate of the Year. She also did some TV acting in 84 and posed for Playboy again for an April 1994 Playmate Revisited feature.
That's so hot, Dave.
I can't talk today. The band had many lineup changes over the years after they got famous, including Michael Schenker subbing in for Robin while he was in rehab in 1991. Also later on, John Corabi, Carlos Cavazo, Robbie Crane, and Jizzy Pearl. At times, there were two versions of Ratt out there, similar to the LA Guns drama. Wikipedia actually has an article called List of Ratt Members with timelines and everything. Most recently this year, Stephen Pearcy and Warren DeMartini announced that they would reunite as a duo for the M3 Rock Festival. From what I've seen on YouTube, it sounded pretty good. Warren can still shred.
Yes, Warren can definitely still shred.
Yeah.
I watched a interview with him where he sat and just talked to a guy with his guitar and an amp, and that was pretty cool, man. It's pretty cool.
Nice. Robin Crosby joined the band while it was still known as Mickey Ratt and co-wrote many of their hit songs. His very tall stature earned him the nickname King. He was, 6'5", 6'6", something like that.
6'5".
Huge man from
Mhm.
what people who've met him said. While the band was in their most successful period, he lived in the Hollywood Hills and was married to a Playboy playmate. His most famous guitars were Jackson V's, originally known as a double Rhodes. But unlike the Randy Rhodes V, the sides were of equal size, kind of like a pointier version of a traditional Gibson Flying V. A scaled down version became known as the King V for guitarists of mere mortal height. Because apparently when he held the small ones, it was like somebody holding a miniature guitar.
So I had never thought of that. I didn't even know that was a thing, that they would
Yeah.
actually make a scaled up size guitar for a larger person. I mean, I know they make small ones for kids, but that never crossed my mind.
Yeah.
And they make a small one for CC DeVille too.
Crosby was more of a bluesy guitarist and less flashy than Warren DeMartini.
Mhm.
There are rumors that he felt sort of overshadowed by DeMartini's killer guitar playing and the attention that it brought, maybe pushing him to self-medicating with drugs and alcohol in some people's opinions. Robin quit Ratt in 1991 after his addictions had gotten out of control. In the 90s, when they tried to have a reunion of the classic lineup, he was still having issues with his health and drug addiction. Sadly, in 2002, he passed away from an overdose at the age of 42.
Wow, that's so young.
Yeah.
Phew. He did not look 42 either.
Yeah, good looking guy, really.
Yeah.
Just, wow.
Yeah, it's tough. It's tough.
And lastly, producer Beau Hill worked on several albums for Ratt, as well as Midnight Dynamite by Kix, good album, and Alice Cooper's Constrictor. Sorry.
Constructor.
Constructor. That's my new
Nice.
album coming out next week. Later, I'm wearing a hard hat, and no shirt. It's great. Later, Beau Hill would also produce Winger's most successful albums, but we'll give him a pass on that one, I guess. Ugh.
Back in the 70s, I wanted to put Tom Selleck on the hood of my Maserati, but Ace Frehley didn't want to do it. That would have been hotter than hell. Okay, all right, enough.
Get out of here, Paul.
Um,
That's all I got.
Okay. I was watching this other interview thing with I think it might have been with Bo, where he was saying, he was working on an album. I think he was in New York at the time, and Robin Crosby came in like all banged up, was like, "Dude, let me borrow $100." And when he left, like the band was like, "Who is that?" He's like, "That was Robin Crosby from Ratt." And they're like, "Holy shit!" So yeah, he was a fucking maniac. Lisa, what do you got for facts on this band?
So I didn't think I was going to have a lot on this, but it turned out there is a lot. So let's step back in time to, as you just were talking about, the golden age of glam metal and really history in general. Let's remember that Out of the Cellar, the previous album, the first album, released on February 17th of 1984. That was just a month after Van Halen's 1984 album had come out. And at the time in 85, Van Halen's 1984 album was actually charting at number 2 still, just behind Michael Jackson's Thriller. And I think you could argue that if Michael Jackson's Thriller, if the charts were separated from, rock and pop, that 1984 would have been probably number 1.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So this album, Invasion of Your Privacy, May 30th, 85, which makes it the 40th anniversary just about a week ago from today.
Woohoo.
Yeah.
Good timing.
Good timing, and it was pretty fast for a second album to come out. But let's be fair, they were striking when the iron was hot because they had the monster hit "Round and Round," which was still charting at the time. And it's also kind of a sweet spot for glam in general. They didn't want to wait a moment, really, I think, for another album on this. Around the same time frame in 85, we had Dawkins Under Lock and Key. We had Motley Crue Theater of Pain, questionable after their monster album Shout of the Devil came out.
Love
Kind of,
theater.
yeah, I love it too, but I think a lot of the critics were saying it was a downturn
Yes.
for them. Yeah.
Yes.
So we had Striper, which was ironically charting extremely high at that time as well.
I saw him at the channel. Good
yeah.
band.
Yep. We had Kix, Midnight Dynamite, Bon Jovi, 7,800 Degrees Fahrenheit, which was not as commercially successful as their next two albums, but was still good. Wasp had The Last Command, Kiss Asylum, bit cringe, but still it was selling, let's be fair. We were also seeing albums from the previous year, like 1984, Def Leppard's Pyromania, Bon Jovi's self-titled album, and Whitesnake Slide It In were all kind of vying for space.
It's a good time for music.
It really was.
I love these albums.
Mm-hmm. So this album, Invasion of Your Privacy, would remain popular through 1986, when it would be faced with even more competition from Van Hagar, David Lee Roth's solo album, Europe, Poison, Tesla, Bon Jovi's mega hit Slippery When Wet, more Striper, Vinnie Vincent Invasion, and so many more.
No.
Not charting, but should have been charting, was 1984's Hannah We Rock's Two Steps from the Move, but that's a talk for another time.
Fucking criminal the way that band was treated. Criminal.
Yes. Yeah. For touring in 1981, Ratt was playing with Motley Crue, mostly through almost 83, with lots of tours in small clubs, especially on the Sunset Strip, playing also with Wasp and Scorpions, Lita Ford. There's a really cool picture, actually, of Robin Crosby in just this cool outfit with his big blonde hair, with Lita Ford standing behind him, kind of looking in another direction, acting like they weren't together. But there are rumors that they were together at the time. At the same time, we had Ratt playing with Berlin and Huey Lewis in the News, which was a surprise to me.
That's interesting.
Yeah,
That's a weird show.
Yeah.
It is.
Bon Jovi, which was the first time I think I saw them. The list of bands really that they didn't play with is probably shorter than the list of bands that they did. They did open arena shows for ZZ Top, which we talked about last.
Oh, is that how you saw ZZ Top, Lisa? Is
Maybe.
that mystery solved?
Mystery solved.
Okay.
Yeah.
There we go.
Yeah. Also Ozzy Osbourne during the Bark at the Moon tour, and Billy Squier. At the point where Out of the Cellar went 5 times platinum, that wasn't too long after it was released, the band was able to head its own arena tours and would really for the next decade. So let's jump into the guys. Stephen Pearcy, lead vocals, obviously. He started the bands Fire Dome and Crystal Pistol, and that's pistol with a Y, Pystal.
Oh, my.
He also wrote music for a band that he named Mickey Ratt, which Dave obviously mentioned, which would eventually become the classic lineup of Ratt, which really wasn't complete until 83, I would say. Pearcy left Ratt in 1992. So this band has had a lot of like weird missteps of who left, who was fired, who quit in disaster. But let's try to get through all the stories here. So when he left in 1992, he founded the band Arcade with Cinderella drummer Fred Corey, which we did talk about during the Cinderella episode. And they had 2 studio albums and also a couple of compilation and live albums. I think they ended up with 4 or 5 albums total for that band. They did tour with Bon Jovi in 1993, but the band ended in 94 when Pearcy went back. When Pearcy joined Vicious Delight, VD. Vicious Delight.
VD.
Yeah.
I like that.
VD.
I like it.
So that band was an alternative band. Yeah, fronted by Pearcy.
Trying to cash in
on what was happening at the time, with 2 of the guys from Arcade, and eventually also with Mike Judah from Wasp, who would replace the original bassist. That ended up being their lineup there. They had an EP and an album, but disbanded the next year when Piercy again reunited with Ratt. He would leave Ratt again in 2000 over disputes, reportedly about financial cuts that the members were each getting. So there's a lot of stories about why things happened in this band, and every single member has a different story. So this time we're speaking from Stephen Piercy's view, and he says it was because the financial cuts in the band were unfair. So
Would you say Stephen went back for more?
Oh, double
Good
dipping.
one. Good
Whoop, whoop, whoop,
one.
whoop.
Good one. So he was back again in 2006 until 2014, where he was quoted to say he was officially done with having anything to do with them due to the constant turmoil, unresolved business, personal attacks, threats in the public forum, and most of all, disrespect to the fans. Unfortunately, in that same year, 2014, he lost his twin sister, Stephanie Marie Hilker, formerly Piercy, on March 22nd of 2014. I didn't even know he had a twin until we did this episode, so that was news to me. But yeah, that must have been a pretty hard time for him. So in 2016, he was back again with Ratt.
Back for more?
Back for more after that quote of saying never again. So in 2019, he had a knee replacement surgery. According to Wiki, this happened after 2 shows in 2019 where he appeared incapacitated and didn't even remember the words to his own songs. Later, he would explain the shows by saying that his knee was causing him so much pain that he was medicating just to get through the day, basically. So, fair enough. He was diagnosed with liver cancer, and according to a documentary produced by his wife Christy, he had beaten the cancer through treatment of chemo and having a surgery to remove the cancer. When speaking about this journey, he shares that he had been diagnosed with hepatitis through a blood test, and that the cancer was then discovered as they started treating the hepatitis for him. He has now gone kind of on a crusade to urge everyone to get tested, because if they catch hepatitis early, it won't turn into cancer like it did for him.
You will all be relieved to know that I do not have hepatitis. I was tested. And you will also all be relieved to know that I had a PSA test done on my prostate, and it's perfect.
Excellent. Yes. And everyone should do that. All you guys out there.
Yes.
Get that done. Very important.
I actually asked the doctor, I said, so can you give me the prostate exam? And I put up the 2 fingers. He's like, we don't really do that anymore. he's like,
and you were asking for it.
He's like, we'll do an ultrasound and a PSA test. That'd be fine. I'm like, come on, doc.
No good times for you.
I told you, fun fact. I told you a couple of years back, I made Delynn give me the prostate exam because she has tiny little hands. So we watched a YouTube video on it, and I said, come on. She reluctantly gave me the exam.
How you convinced her to do that is beyond me.
Her diagnosis was correct, though.
Yeah.
No problems with the prostate.
Yeah.
So there you go.
Okay, so 9 days after his surgery, he was back on the road with the band. That was even before he knew if the surgery was successful or not. And he says it's because he loves what he does and he wants to live his life fully. Now that he's had this illness, he wants to make sure he fits everything in. Later, he would share that he wished he took better care of himself overall. And he spends a lot of time making sure that people around him actually do that now, which is nice. In April of 2020, Piercy and the rest of Ratt appeared in a television commercial for the insurance company Geico, where the homeowners lament that they have a rat problem. Good one. In the same year, he was inducted into the Metal Hall of Fame.
Yeah, they had to get those rats out of the cellar.
Yeah, right.
No, stop. Oh, shit.
Yep. Yeah, that was, to be fair, that was a really good campaign.
Speaking of a fucking Geico commercial, this fucking podcast is turning into one.
Piercy had 6 solo records, and one apparently still in the works, TBD, which is slated to be a legacy compilation, kind of, I think, of his lifetime work. Of course, the biggest bombshell lately, as Dave alluded to, is the reunion of Piercy and DeMartini for a few shows. He's done a lot of press over the years, including a lot of press in 2023 when they released the Atlantic Years box set to celebrate their 40th anniversary. You can now find that on eBay for somewhere around $150 to $200. You can get the CD version on Amazon for $44. It includes all 5 Atlantic released albums, a poster, a guitar pick, a sticker, a replica tour book, and a 7-inch vinyl single featuring the song from Point Break, "Nobody Rides for Free."
It's a good song.
It's a great song, yeah, which turned out to be the last single of their original career run in 1991.
It's a good one to go out on.
Yeah, yeah. So he muses a lot about the old days. He actually doesn't mind the moniker hair metal. He thinks it's perfectly fine, and actually is really proud that his band was kind of the beginning of that movement, and really pushed it all forward, and started the genre in some way with some other bands beside them. He's very proud of that.
I have a different take on Ratt than
Do
hair
you?
metal that we're going to get into a little
Okay.
bit. And I'm just going to mention Duran Duran. That's all I'm going to say.
Okay,
Okay.
fair. Yeah. Yeah. So Stephen shared a fun fact about Warren DeMartini, and here's his quote: "I haven't had to think about that in a long time." Now, remember, this is before their reunion, but that really was all Warren. What's interesting, though, is that Warren was living with Jake E. Lee during that era. So this is about the writing of the first album, I believe. So he was living with Jake E. Lee, and they would trade riffs, Jake E. Lee and Warren, and bounce things off one another. So when Jake was working on Bark at the Moon with Ozzy, he'd show Warren his stuff. And when Warren was working on Out of the Cellar and Invasion of Your Privacy, he'd show Jake, and they'd go back and forth. He thinks that the Lay It Down riff came about when they were farting around with stuff together. But that was one of those heavy riffs where once he showed it to me, we were off and running. And I have to give Beau Hill credit for not glossing it up too much. That made all the difference. It was glossy enough for radio, but gritty enough for us to still identify with it. I think that's
agreed.
fair. Yeah. He laments that by the time Reach for the Sky came around, he was still loving, playing the music. He was still loving the music, but he understands that fans don't really like that one as much. And he thinks that by the time Detonator happened, their original producer, Beau Hill, was gone, and Desmond Childs had taken that spot. And the band itself was in a bad place. They had been on the road for many years, playing about 250 shows a year, which is a lot. And they had kind of lost their own identities and were exhausted. And he believes it was just kind of going downhill. So after saying that, he's pretty clear that he doesn't think that grunge was the reason that the band fell apart. Like, grunge didn't steal their spotlight. They were already on a disaster path, completely on their own, without the music taste changing.
Lisa, it's funny you said that, though, because you got to imagine this. About that time, a lot of these bands had played 250 shows a year, and
Right.
a lot of these bands were drugged out and washed out.
Yes.
So, I mean, I think that also comes into play. You've got a genre of upcoming young kids that were hot and hungry and had not gotten drugged out yet, but they all did too, and
Right.
that whole thing failed too. So you kind of see the evolution of how things happen.
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
It's not Nirvana's fault. It's not
Yeah,
all Nirvana's fault.
Not completely. Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
But a little bit.
A little bit. He's really happy with what's happening now, that glam is resurging. And he's grateful that they've been able to have as long of a career as they had. He's quite active on Facebook and Instagram, and even posted a tribute to Robin on his death anniversary, which was just 2 days ago. That would have been 23 years ago, just 2 days ago. He has a website, officialstephenpearcy.com, where he sells merch and VIP tickets. There are tour dates for Piercy and DeMartini, appearances all the way through November. Also, not just here in the US, but in Canada and Mexico, including one in Boston on August 1st at MGM Venue, which is
cool.
right near Fenway Park.
Sweet.
He has a Patreon.
Really?
Which you
Nice.
can purchase one of 3 levels of membership to get backstage videos, early VIP ticket access, discounts on cameos, a chat, not sure if it's with him or just with other fans, special merchandise, and other perks. So as we know, there was a lawsuit about Ratt's name kind of bubbling under the surface through all of this, where there were multiple versions of Ratt going on. So the outcome of the lawsuit in 2016 was that the original members, Stephen Piercy, Warren DeMartini, and Juan Crosier, am I saying that right? Crosier?
Yes.
Crosier.
Long
think so.
Croatia.
Crosier, have regained control of the Ratt name. They ousted Bobby Blazer in the process. I'm sorry, Bobby Blotzer. Why do I want to call him Bobby Blazer?
Bobby
Who is Bobby
Blazer?
Blazer?
I don't know, but
Bobby
I want him.
Blotzer. Yeah.
He's a car salesman
Yeah.
down the
No,
down
it's
the
the drummer
corner.
from fucking. It's the drummer from fucking Hard Lard.
Yeah.
Come on, who knows that?
Blotzer had taken issue with Crosier's touring under the name Ratt's Juan Crosier. So in other words, using the name even though he was using his own name at the same time. He had filed a lawsuit against the basis for trademark infringement, and the judge ruled in favor of Crosier. It was thought that Ratt's name had been transferred over to WBS Inc., and that Blotzer and DeMartini were the sole shareholders. But the judge actually tore that all apart. That was a 1995 agreement from the band.
Blotzer's got a son that plays drums. That's pretty cool.
Yeah. So somebody else had another version of Ratt with a Rat attack. I think we'll get into later. So yeah, there were several versions of Ratt going on all of this time. So. Okay, so let's go into Robin Crosby. This is going to be the sad one. Obviously, he passed away June 6th of 2002, which was just about 23 years ago. We're 2 days shy of that. Born and raised in California, he was going to be a baseball player, not a musician when he was younger. His dad, who passed last year at the age of 98, is a well-known author of books about Californian history. And his work on Baja California was at least partly responsible for the region being named a UNESCO World Heritage Site in 1993. So cool there.
Yeah.
He played in a band called Phenomenon from 77 to 78, recording a single called The Final Word, which he wrote. He was in a band called Metropolis for 1978 to 79, which really was a cover band. They covered Judas Priest and some bands like that. He combined members from both of those previous bands to form a band called Secret Service. During this time, he moved to Manhattan Beach, California, and was living with his girlfriend, Tawny, as we talked about. We did a deeper dive on Tawny in our Whitesnake episode, if you want to go back and listen to that. But I'll just mention that at this time, Tawny's life was busy, and of course, Robin's life was busy, so they didn't often get to see each other. It's actually rumored during this time that Tawny was also involved with O.J. Simpson.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Got out of that one at the right time. Oh.
Yeah.
I mean, he is innocent, but whatever.
Yeah, I don't know about that. I don't think I agree with that.
I agree that I don't agree. He wasn't.
So we also had a band named Aircraft, featuring Rob Lamonte, and later who was in the River Dogs with members of Dio, Whitesnake, and Def Leppard. The band eventually renamed themselves Mac Media, which Mac Media, that seems kind of silly nowadays.
It's terrible.
They recorded some songs on a minor label and never really went anywhere. Then he became an original member of Ricky Ratt, and kind of history was written at that point. He was still dating Tawny at the time, who, as Dave mentioned, would appear on the cover of their EP and Out of the Cellar. They broke up in '84 after a 6-year relationship. He did marry playmate Laurie Carr in 1987, and they divorced in 1991. Laurie, as Dave stated, was a Playboy Playmate of the Month and also a Playmate of the Year by the age of 20, so she'd done a lot. She's had a few acting roles on Full House and a movie called Mortuary Academy. She appeared on the cover of Slaughter's multi-platinum album Stick It To Ya and Stick It To Ya Live. Stick It Live, yeah.
Sucks.
She eventually became a successful chiropractor.
Oh, dude, see, that's the move right there.
Yeah.
That's the move. You become a fucking doctor.
Yeah. Robin's guitar style is basically blues rock, which is a direct contrast to his fellow guitarist in Ratt, Warren DeMartini. Do you think this was a good thing? Did they complement each other because of that?
Yep.
Yeah.
I love the way these two play guitar together, and I wish Robin didn't take it so hard that Warren was better, because he didn't have to. They played so good together, and Robin's a great
did.
rhythm guitar player,
Mhm.
so it just worked.
Yeah.
He just had a big ego.
he wrote a bunch of the songs,
Yeah.
and just I think maybe he let his ego get in the way
Yeah.
a little too much.
I wish
But it's
he'd
like
embraced it.
he
Mm.
was successful. He wrote a lot of the songs. What's there to be upset
He had
about?
a slew
Yeah.
of beautiful women.
And Warren was so mousy and
Mhm.
introverted. Like he wasn't like Robin had the spotlight if he wanted it.
Yeah.
So yeah, big mistake by Rob. Rob, you should have fucking embraced that.
Yeah,
Sorry.
and he definitely shared himself that he felt overshadowed by DeMartini, whose style kind of fit better with what was big in the 80s, that kind of glam, shreddy player, right? So it caused him to sink deeper and deeper into the abyss of drug use, which, let's be fair, he was already there. This just made it worse, and ultimately led to his heroin addiction. When Ratt was at its peak and they were going into the studio to record Detonator, remember the band is they're tired. They're playing 250 gigs a year. This is when Robin entered rehab. Heroin was not his only mistress, and he reported himself as having multiple substance addictions, including cocaine, as well as alcohol, as we've seen.
I miss cocaine.
Yeah.
Been a long
Before his
time.
final gig with Ratt in Japan in 1991, his bandmates found him polishing off an entire bottle of vodka backstage. It became apparent that he was in no shape to continue. Now, it's controversial whether he quit or whether he was fired, depending on who you speak to in the band. But I think at that point, he was not in any shape to continue.
Yeah.
In 1994, he contracted HIV. He says that this diagnosis cost him his sex life, his career, and his fortune. He also shares that this set him towards drugs even more, if that's possible at all.
He points a lot of fingers. I'm thinking there was some fucking deeper seated issues than just boy, DeMartini's a better guitar player, and it's like no, there's
Yeah.
things going on here.
He was frequently hospitalized during the next 8 years with complications from HIV, issues with his back that were thought to also be related to HIV, osteomyelitis specifically, which is a bone infection. And when you have HIV and you have an infection, your body can't fight the infection off. So it's basically just debilitating pain that comes from that.
I got a backache today.
Yep. He tried to keep himself busy coaching Little League and working with Jackson Guitars to create the limited edition run of the Jackson King V, which I think you spoke about.
Mm-hmm.
By the time Ratt reunited, Crosby was in no shape to play. He was still using, despite many rehabs, and he had gained considerable weight. This made his spiral even worse, not being included in the reunion. He continued to play after his time with Ratt. He joined Lillian Axe, and he played with other musicians, even in a country band at one point. His last project included some work with Juan. In 2001, he would claim that his hard rock lifestyle and his HIV diagnosis changed the way his body worked. His pancreas had basically shut down, and his body was unable to metabolize food properly, which caused pretty significant weight gain. At the time, he was living in a hospice facility, and was still in touch with his previous love, Tawny, right up until his death. His death was controversially reported at first to be from complications of AIDS. That was not true. He died of a heroin overdose. According to the autopsy report, right after his death, Crosby was 41, 6'5", and weighed 400 pounds.
Oh wow, that's a big dude.
Yeah.
Yeah. Don't share needles.
Yeah.
Don't share needles.
Upon Robin's death, Piercy shared the following. The guy was king in our eyes. He was Robin. He was our leader. He was my right-hand man. It was terrible. It was just bad all the way around. He is a soldier we lost in the rock and roll war. He was not the first, and I'm sure he will not be the last. Yeah. So, I don't know what else to say about that. It's kind of a sad situation, but yeah, that is Robin's story, and R.I.P. to him.
But we'll have his music forever.
Love his music
Yes, we
forever.
will.
Yep.
Yes, we will.
Yep.
He's in a better place now. So
Yep.
there you go, Robin Crosby.
Yep. And some people don't even get that. So yeah.
Yes.
Okay, let's switch on to Warren DeMartini. We seem to be talking lately about a lot of underrated guitars. We did Tracy recently. I think Warren DeMartini kind of fits in that category as a underrated guitar player from the 80s. You hear his name mentioned occasionally, but not as consistently as some of the other big guys of the time. What did you guys think of Warren back in the day?
Dave?
He's great. I mean, I think at the time he was properly regarded. I mean, he was in the guitar magazines, and he was like oh wow, check out this shredder guy coming out. I think he had the attention back then, but I think now maybe underrated.
Mm.
That people don't really think of him first when you think of the 80s shredder guitar players. They always go to Eddie Van Halen and Randy Rhoads and George Lynch.
Mhm.
But
Steve Vai.
yeah, I mean,
Nuno.
and he's definitely in that club.
Yeah.
For me, Warren DeMartini is like the Eddie Van Halen of hair metal guitar. I think he is miles and miles above some of these other guys that were touted as the best, like George Lynch. Like, I mean, no disrespect to George Lynch, but Warren DeMartini is 10,000 times the lead guitar player that George Lynch will ever be. Warren DeMartini was a mix of shred and blues and classy licks and greasy licks, and he was so technical and never fumbled over notes, and just love you, Warren.
If you're listening,
If you're listening,
DeMartini.
we're still doing it today.
Yeah.
let's do lunch.
Maybe you'll see this. We never know, DeMartini became interested in rock music due to the influence of his older brothers. This is according to Wiki. Their band rehearsed in the family basement. His grandmother was also a musician, playing piano accompaniment to silent movies.
Was
That's
she in the
kinda cool.
band?
She was not in the band.
Okay, just checking.
No. He started playing guitar when his mother gifted him one at the age of 7 or 8. He can't remember exactly when, but it was cheap, which caused him considerable frustration when he couldn't keep it tuned. So he smashed it like he saw Peter Townsend of The Who do. His mother never gifted him another guitar. He ended up working hard to buy himself another guitar by the age of 14, and his first public appearance was just a year later with a band named The Plague. He won Best New Guitar Player in San Diego at Guitar Trader before graduating from high school. He started college, but during his first semester, his college plans were derailed when he joined Mickey Ratt, which eventually would become Ratt. He replaced Jakey Lee, who of course was basically his roommate at the time, who would go on to play with Ozzy as the replacement for Brad Gillis of Night Ranger, who had the gig with Ozzy for like a minute just during touring of Diary of a Madman.
As a fill-in
After Randy died. Yeah. Jake felt bad for leaving Ratt without a member and offered Warren up, who was only 19 at the time, and looks like it was a great pick.
Yeah.
In a recent interview with Guitar Player, DeMartini says that he could play chords and he understood the guitar, but he wasn't yet able to put it all together to write songs. After joining Ratt, he was able to expand himself to do just that. It took him a full year before he had the confidence to show the rest of the band some of his writing. So he would explain that he would write a lead, and then he would expect Robin to design his own rhythm part. But Robin didn't like playing rhythm. So sort of on the spot, while they were recording, Warren wrote kind of like a co-lead part for Robin to play. So like a double lead. And this really worked, I think, for the music, and it worked for both of them. But still, Robin felt left behind, even though I think Warren definitely made an effort to bring them both up to lead guitar rather than having a lead and a rhythm. So
It feels like he's just a little bit of like a prima donna, like just a little bit of a little bit of a baby.
Yeah. I would say, at least for me, that when I think of Ratt, I immediately think of DeMartini. He co-wrote mega hits like Round and Round, Lay It Down, Dance, and Way Cool Jr. I don't care what you say. I love Way Cool Jr. I know it's sort of hated in the Ratt world. I still love it, and I don't care what you say.
It's fine.
It's fine. Yeah, Dave, you nailed it. It's fine.
In the Guitar Player interview, he states that no one who know who they were before Round and Round, no one knew who they were, and that song broke, and it was like instant fame overnight. They were just huge. After Ratt, he spent about a minute in Dawkins before becoming a touring musician for Whitesnake just for 1994. He claims he wasn't familiar with Whitesnake other than John Sykes' work when he joined the band. I have no idea how that would be possible to make it all the way to 1994 in the place that he was and not know Whitesnake, but that's what he claims.
Yeah, I call bullshit. He knew who they were.
Yeah, we all remember how much David Coverdale liked to replace his bands at weird times, having touring bands that didn't match the album artists, and he was one of these people, of course. He had a solo single around this time frame called Surf's Up, and then a full-length solo album in 96, Crazy Enough to Sing to You. This was just before the reunion of Ratt, which would spawn two more studio albums, Collage in 97 and a self-titled album in 99. A little bit forgettable, I think, those two albums. Maybe because of the state of music at the time, the genre wasn't popular, and they were still playing, the original 91 genre on those albums. He was hired for Dio, but quickly left after clashes with Ronnie James. He would tour again with Ratt in 2007 and had on and off gigs with the band, ultimately crumbling in 2018 due to infighting, really with Piercy, apparently. Piercy then put out a statement that DeMartini would not be included in the lineups anymore because he didn't want to go out and play. DeMartini has never really shared what happened at that time. He's never really made his own statement, so we don't really know what happened from his point of view. Another comment about the time frame in 1999 was about Robin's drug issues. Warren wanted to play more lead. Robin's feelings were really hurt by that. It launched him into a depression and more drug abuse. And I think that Warren felt a little bit responsible for that. So that's sad.
That's why I was saying about the finger pointing thing. It's not fair to put like all of your weight on somebody else like that. Like bullshit. You don't destroy your whole life because you're fucking the other guy in your band plays better than you. You know how many bands I've been in where the other guy was a better guitar player than me? Every single one.
Yep. So Piercy explains that he and Crozier discovered they weren't really fitting with DeMartini anymore. We thought things were going copacetic, but later found out there were other things going on with this guy, referring to DeMartini. That he claims Warren was not fired. He wasn't fired at all. He just took it upon himself to not be involved. But I'm not going to dwell on that subject anymore. It's not worth it, he said.
Dave's a better guitar player than me, and we do this podcast together, so I'm going to shoot a bunch of heroin after the show.
Don't do it.
Yeah.
Okay, I won't. Thank you, buddy.
Okay.
DeMartini has also stated in several interviews that the Ratt reunion after the original run was not worth it. However, this year, we would get to see a much anticipated reunion with Piercy and DeMartini at the M3 Rock Festival. They did put together I don't want to call it a tour, a quick tour, a few dates. One of the dates, which was at Mohegan Sun near us this past April. Piercy would later say, we kind of blundered through that date here and there, and it's a given. We had very few rehearsals. I actually heard from some friends who were at the show that said it was fantastic. So I think they're being hard on themselves.
I have yet to see a modern day Stephen Piercy performance where he can sing at all.
Oh, I've seen a couple ones where he sounded good.
Really?
Yeah.
I watched the Mohegan Sun, some of that, and he sounds a little rough to me.
Oh, man.
Maybe it was just the show.
Maybe.
I'll give him the benefit of the doubt, but
yeah, I think this is one of the most anticipated reunions of the genre, maybe after Phil and Tracy. You know, this would be, and I think the fans are really grateful that they were able to make this happen.
Phil Lewis is singing a million times better than Stephen Piercy now at this point in their careers.
Yeah. So Carlos, is it Cavaze or Cavaz?
Cavazo.
Okay.
I believe.
Played with Ratt from 2008 to 2018. And he explains that his departure, which coincides with DeMartini and Piercy's kind of fallout, was because he couldn't see himself playing without DeMartini. He claims he would return if DeMartini and Piercy reunite, but as far as we know, we haven't heard from Piercy or DeMartini as whether that will happen or not.
Yeah, I think the whole thing just blew up the first time. And,
yeah,
but now he's back. He was playing rhythm guitar with them.
Yeah. We learned through the testimony in the trial for the name that he was This is a quote from DeMartini speaking about Piercy. We learned through the testimony in the trial that he was already working on the solo thing when he assembled the Ratt tour. We could have just taken a break. I never understood why he insisted that we book a Ratt tour and at the same time be working on a solo thing. Anyway, he quit the band. The tour had to be canceled. He went on the road with a solo band, so we got a new singer and continued. So that is DeMartini's statement about what happened.
Dave, Carlos, what do you think as a lead guitar player?
He's pretty good. I mean,
Yeah, I think like the problem was he was coming in after Randy Rhoads played. Randy played with Quiet Riot, correct?
yeah, he
Yeah.
started Quiet
Right.
Riot with Kevin and
Right,
all
and then
that,
he
but-
left, and they brought Carlos in, and Carlos obviously looked like a little Randy clone. And I think people didn't take him as seriously as maybe they should have. Because I listened to like some of his solos, and he's a pretty good player, actually.
Oh yeah,
But
yeah, he's good. I mean, they got famous with him.
Yeah, but
You know,
he kind of I always felt like everybody just kind of looked at him like the Randy wannabe that just wasn't as good. And sure, if you compare him to Randy Rhoads, I mean, maybe he's not as good. Who is?
yeah, nobody.
But
is.
nobody is. But I just always feel like he kind of got swept under the carpet, which is a shame.
Yeah,
Okay, he's also listed as a composer, and this is interesting because he's one of the only people listed as a composer in IMDb for a couple movies.
and this is Warren.
This is Warren.
Okay,
The Golden Child in '86, The Wrestler in 2008, and That's My Boy in 2012. But all three of those are Ratt songs. So why he's listed as a composer and no one else in the band, it's strange to me.
Say we want the knife.
Yeah. In 2019, he performed with Kings of Chaos, which of course is fronted by Sebastian Bach, who we saw some footage of
Sebastian.
today with a new song out where he seemed to be auto-tuned and lip syncing.
Oh.
Yeah,
yeah, that was definitely a studio track. He was just miming to.
yeah,
Ah,
badly.
I don't like it.
Yep.
I don't
Actually,
like
I
it.
think the one that we heard might have been a Triumph cover song. I'm not entirely sure, but I think it was.
Meh.
Also in that band, Dee Schneider, Gilby Clark, and Kenny Aronoff. Yeah, but this seems to have been just one or two shows. He's not even listed on the band's wiki as a former member, so I think he just filled in for a couple shows with them.
Probably, yeah, a lot of famous guys play in that band, like a
Yes.
super group.
Right. He's been featured on countless magazine covers, as you guys were saying, like Guitar Player and Guitar World. He is on Facebook and Insta pushing all the new shows with Piercy, but he posts generally very little.
You guys remember that fucking Twisted Sister video where they're on the hood of the car in the Hollywood studio? It said, "Hear no evil, don't you see?"
Yeah, Burn
no-"
in Hell.
Yeah,
PB's
I
Big
always-
Adventure.
Yeah, that's right. So that video was kind of buried for whatever reason. I always thought that Twisted Sister would have done so much better if they had had that for their look. Like,
Yeah.
I thought they looked great in that video. They look so
I agree
goofy
with
in the
that.
other
They
ones.
needed that look, yes.
Yeah.
Totally.
Okay.
Okay, let's move on to Juan Crocier. Why can't I say his name? Juan Crocier. There we go.
Huang?
Juan. Born in Cuba. When he was 6 years old, revolution swept across Cuba and his family fled to Los Angeles. He remembers his country bustling with life, salsa music, and dancing in the streets.
Salsa.
The transition was jarring with a language barrier he didn't understand and a whole new culture at a very young age. He was luckily able to merge into the American culture, but this transition shaped his future quite a bit. He credits his attraction to bass, which he picked up as a teenager, to his memories of the beats and rhythms of his Cuban homeland.
He's a very good singer, too.
He attended high school in Torrance, California with Bobby Blotzer, so they kind of grew up together. They played in a band together called Spike at the age of 16, which actually was not even a cover band. They did originals. So that's kind of cool.
Well, this is going to explain why they play so well together in this band.
Yeah. In 77, he started a new band called Firefox with Ron Abrams on guitar and Bobby Blotzer, of course. He was also in Quiet Riot before Randy Rhoads left to play for Ozzy.
Isn't that a search browser? Firefox?
Firefox, it sure is. It is now.
Oh,
It wasn't then.
It should sue.
We didn't even have internet in homes then. So
That's right.
Wasn't that a movie with Clint Eastwood?
No.
It was.
He was like a jet fighter pilot. That's a good one.
It is a good one. I'm
Yeah.
putting that on the list right now. Firefox. There it is. Okay.
He's responsible for introducing Kevin Dubrow to Frankie Banali, who went on to form the new version of Quiet Riot, resulting in the debut record Mental Health. Imagine if he hadn't done that.
Not a good album though. I
You don't
almost
think?
picked it. I went back and listened to the album because I was going
Huh.
to choose it for the show, actually for this week. And I listened to it and I was like, wow, it's got like 2 good songs on it. And then the rest of the album is caca.
I am not a fan of that
No.
album, but I
Oh.
know that it was a mega hit at the
But
time.
I remembered loving it when I was a little kid, having the shirt, the videos. Nope, it's just a couple of songs. Dave, have you listened to it all the way through?
Not recently, but I've had it, and yeah. I mean, there's some good and some meh.
Yeah, it's weird. It's not really a metal album. It's just odd.
So he played in Dokken until 1983, which means that he played on their first 2 albums, including Breaking the Chains, which is an epic album. I
Fucking
might
love
say.
that album
Yep.
and that song.
Me too, yeah. He was replaced by Jeff Pilson, who appears in the MTV Smash video, Breaking the Chains, despite not playing on the album. Kind of sad.
I've said this before. Fucking those 2 are like so interchangeable. They look exactly alike. They play alike. And then Bobby Blotzer and fucking Mick Brown are the same person. Okay. So that rhythm section can be intertwined. No problem.
For a year and a half, he was in both Ratt and Dokken simultaneously. We know that lots of musicians play in multiple bands. I'm looking at Dave right now, who I think is in 17 bands right now.
Yes.
But I can't imagine being in 2 major label bands that were both touring and making videos at the same time. That seems like a lot. He helped write Lack of Communication and You're in Love, and apparently is a fantastic backup vocalist, which we will talk about as we break down the songs.
Fucking killer. And a lot of his, people don't know this, but a lot of the signature Ratt sound that you're hearing and a lot of these vocals are in fact Juan Crocier.
Yeah, he's really good. He formed a new band, Liquid Sunday, in 1997 and released a solo album named after this project in 2001. On this album, he plays bass and sings, and also plays some guitar. This band opened for one of Piercy's projects in 2006. This led him to form his own Ratt band called Dirty Rats. So this is yet another version of Ratt, where he played bass and sang. Played bass and sang. Peter Steele, anyone?
Yeah.
He's done tons of interviews. In one, he talks about the release of Out of the Cellar and how they produced their video for Round and Round. There were so few videos being made at the time, it was almost easy to get it played on MTV. He claims at the time there were 50 active videos playing in rotation on MTV at the time.
That's crazy.
Really different world than it is now.
Now there's no videos playing on MTV.
Yeah, no videos at all. He's very proud of how good Ratt played live. He thought it was very important to be able to perform the music, not just to record it. He names bands like Steely Dan for being studio bands terrible live, although I would argue they're also terrible in the studio. But I get what he's saying. You have to be able to perform what you record. He did not play with the recent Piercy DiMartini reunion, but his passion is music, and he continues with his own versions of Ratt, relaunching in 2023, though I haven't heard much about this version of Ratt. His comments on the breakup of the band and the lawsuits are pretty dark. He doesn't agree. He claims he doesn't really agree with either side. I'm embarrassed by Bobby and Warren calling themselves Ratt. It's not Ratt. 3/5 of the guys are gone. The guys who did most of the writing are no longer in the band. I can understand they need to make money, but to take the name and abuse it doesn't seem like a respectful and intelligent thing to do. Ironically, I know if Steven had the chance, he'd be out there doing it too. The damage is done at this point. These guys were like hating each other at one point in time, all of them. It's amazing how they go back and forth. So.
Same old story, week after week when we do this show, though, isn't it?
Yeah. Freaking artists, man, musicians.
I will say though, like if you go back, there's a really famous live video of Ratt. It's a whole concert that they did in Hollywood. It like I don't remember what club it was. I don't think it was. Maybe it was like Kazari's or something. I don't know. but they're really good. And Stephen Pearcy is nailing the album. I mean, he's singing it note for note perfectly. They're playing these solos note for note perfectly. You know, Juan Crocier is singing these backups perfectly. So they were a really, really tight band live. You
Yeah.
were getting the album when you
Yeah.
went to go watch the show.
Exactly. And that's what you want when you're a fan, right?
Yeah, unlike Motley Crue, where
Yeah.
you go and you go, holy fucking shit, is the singer going to sing?
Yeah. So he has a website, juancrocier.com, which needs a redesign, but it has lots of information about all of his past appearances and collaborations. It hasn't been maintained recently, and the reason I know this is that it lists a June 24, 2021 concert as coming in the future. So it's been a while since they've updated it.
Been a while.
Yeah. There's a link to book him on his site, and it's got a phone number, so give him a call.
Oh, really? How
Yeah.
much?
Yeah, it doesn't say. It just says call him to find out.
Want to come over and just
Give him
hang
a
out? We'll
ring.
do some fucking music up in my studio.
Yeah. Okay, so switching to Bobby Blotzer. Attended, of course, as we said, Torrance High School with Juan Crocier. Started out in Dawkin, also with Crocier, and both guys kind of left together in 1978. I'm sorry. Yeah. No, they didn't leave in 78. They left in 83, I think it was. Or he left earlier.
Dawkin did break out in the very, very late 70s, so I think
Yeah.
78, 79. And at that time, what's his face there? The singer, Don Dawkin, he actually was ripping on a Les Paul. So there you go.
Yeah. He tells the story of how they ended their 1991 tour in the middle of the tour because of low ticket sales, and they were basically playing to half-filled venues at the time. He speaks about how hard it was to see all of the 80s bands just crash and burn after a decade of multi-platinum bands kind of hanging together on Sunset Strip and everything being, you know, what we remember as like the best time ever, right? And it was kind of all just taken away. During the hiatus of Ratt in the early 1990s, he lived a regular guy life, spending time on Lake Havasu on his boat and skiing in the winters with his family. He didn't really join another band or play on his own. When they were back in 1997, he talks about how hard it's been to work with Pearcy and how it took really good producers to get a good performance out of him, that Warren DeMartini was too controlling and made it uncomfortable to work together. He said that Warren was upset for not getting his way on the album and losing control to the producers, and how he was a bad businessman. And really, everything he says sounds like sour grapes to me, honestly.
A lot of sour grapes in this podcast.
Yeah. Why do I have to learn about all these bands that in my little teenage brain, these guys were best friends and, you know, made music together, and it was amazing. And now we're learning really one after another that they kind of all hated each other, and it was just a job to them, and it didn't
Just
mean
toxic.
anything. It's just so like my little teenage heart is like breaking into shards every time we learn something like this.
Bunch of drunk pricks.
Yep.
Yeah. The only
Talking about myself.
yeah.
Yeah, sure.
The only person he had nice things to say about in the band at all was Robin, which he really did have some nice things to say about him.
It's very rare a band breaks up and everybody's like, I love you, bro. No,
Yeah.
that comes later, like
I
years
guess.
later.
Yeah, but my little teenage heart at the time just didn't believe that this is how the things were behind the scenes. You know, you don't look behind the curtain, I think. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
Talked about that last week.
Yeah.
Yes, we did.
Yeah, heartbreaking. He talks about the recording of Invasion, basically having all the guys recording separately because they couldn't be in the same room together. So
That soon, huh?
yeah, so it was that early. So that would have been 84, 85. Yeah.
I mean, it just goes all the way back to Joe Perry and Steven Tyler. We've said it in every single episode.
Yep.
How were these albums even made?
After Pearcy left the band, which would have been, I guess, 1991, and sued the other members for continuing as Ratt and ruining their contract with Sony, Bobby went on a hate campaign against him, going as far to call Pearcy a sick person and pathological liar. In 2009, Blotzer was arrested and booked on charges of domestic violence.
Nice guy.
Yeah, in 2010, he released an autobiographical book, Tales of a Rat, Things You Shouldn't Know. Eventually, he joined Jeff Tate's version of Queensryche in 2012, but left in 2013 to return to Ratt.
Interesting.
Yeah. He guested with Sin City Sinners and took many of those members on tour with him as Bobby Blotzer's Rat Experience. So here's another version of Rat.
It's just not good.
Yeah. In 2015, he basically took control of the Rat name. Blotzer claimed he had the legal right to go on tour using the name, as DeMartini breached his fiduciary duty by refusing to tour under the Rat name as partner in the corporation. In 2015, DeMartini sued Blotzer for calling his tribute band Rat.
I can see the judge just being like, guys, no one gives a fuck. Fine.
Right?
$5 goes to this guy and he gets the fucking name. Now get the fuck out of here.
Yeah. He played in Contraband with Tracy Guns.
Cool.
He played in Montrose, which had a carousel of members. Ronnie Montrose passing in 2012, and the project ended at that point. He's a pretty successful guy, having invested in real estate and various businesses over the years, so he really didn't have to rely on music for his income. He was, quote unquote, officially fired from Rat in 2016. He has another project called Rat Attack, which doesn't seem to have ever had a show. The rumored lineup for Rat Attack was Gabriel Colon from Lynch Mob, Matt Duncan from DC4, and two guitarists, Dougie Licks Manross, who is 24 and is not known for anything.
Is that his real name?
I think so. And Mickey Licks from Holy Mother, who is 19.
I know what I want for Christmas.
Yeah.
New nicknames for both of those guys?
Yeah. He talks about how nice it is to see all the new fans now, as basically parents and grandparents are introducing this music to their kids, and they're really liking it and buying the music and going to the shows, which is what we've talked about a lot. He spends his time now not playing, but meeting fans at conventions and selling his merch. Every recent interviews with Blotzer, and I'm just going to say this, he still looks pretty cool. I mean, he's definitely aged, but he is still rock and roll. He's rocking the guy liner and the bandanas and the big hair, and I'm loving that because not a lot of guys have kind of kept that up. Some of them look like soccer dads, and it's disappointing. He still looks like a rock star, but every interview that I've seen, video or not, he's very critical of Piercy, saying Piercy wanted to take other people's music and rewrite it, and that he needed a lot of help. He sounds salty and angry and catty and maybe jealous. It's very bad energy around this guy. Is he telling the truth? I don't know, because everybody has a different story from this band, but he's really the one that sounds the most angry and negative over the situation.
From what I understand, the producer would have to literally, like, he would write Stephen Piercy's melodies. He would say, sing it like this, try and sing it like that. And Piercy would take it, and he, like, I guess there was no resistance. Like, he was fine with this guy building all his melodies and the way he would sing in the studio. And I love it. So I don't care who it comes from. I don't care who it comes from. It fucking works. Kind of like that, sort of like different, Lisa, but kind of like Davey Vane, like these really unusual melodies and timings and things that are just cool, man. Just so different.
Definitely melodies that you don't hear anymore.
Yeah, it's not like that standard, rock and roll, cool, baby. That bullshit we were getting. Like, this is different. Paul, get the fuck out of here. He keeps
visiting us.
I know, it just keeps here all the time.
Won't go away. I got nothing to do since Kiss retired.
Oh, shit.
You guys want to play some Monopoly?
Some Monopoly, we'll do it inside diapers. Lisa, where are we?
Getting off track.
We're going to do opening thoughts, Des. What are your opening thoughts on this album?
I'll get us started. So it is becoming clear to me that Ratt might be one of my favorite hair metal bands of all times. They had a really cool sound that transcends your average hair metal band. And I know this album inside and out. And when I say that, they use tricks. Like when they use gang vocals, they use them differently than everybody else did. And they just sound cool and they don't sound dated and goofy. And they used it in weird spots, like in verses and stuff. It's just so different. But the question is, did this album actually stand the test of time? 40 years. Imagine that, 40 years. That means in 1985, that'd be like us listening to bands from like before there was music.
40s.
Glenn Miller.
Glenn
That's
Miller
what I'm
Orchestra.
saying. That's
Lawrence
how
Welk. Yeah.
old this is. Like, if you showed this to a kid today that was 17, they'd be like, I cannot relate. I cannot compute. That does not compute.
But we have seen the opposite of that, though. We've seen that the music from the 80s is so good. It is
Yeah.
transcending time, and the kids
Yes.
are listening to it, and they do love it.
Yeah, I mean, the gap between the 40s and the
Mm.
80s was much bigger than the gap between the 80s and 2025.
It helps that
for
there's
sure.
no good music being produced today as well.
There's no music or musicians anymore. Everybody
Right.
just does it on their computer. And look, we were talking about the other day, like I did another video besides the one I did for you. I did this really weird, fucking controversial, strange one that I just put up the other night. That I questioning whether I should have even put it out there or not. But whatever, it's there if you want to go look at it.
Awesome.
Yes, but yeah, I
So
don't even know where I was going.
You rated the previous album pretty high.
I did. I
Yeah.
did. Yeah, this one.
So I think Ratt is one of your favorites.
It is one of my favorites. Lisa, how about you?
Dave first. Let's let Dave
Okay,
go.
Dave, how about you?
Okay, well, I've actually never listened to this album
What?
all the way through
What?
before today. Yeah,
I just fell out of my chair. Hang on.
I've had it, but I never really dug into it. You know, I've heard some of the songs over the years for sure. Between the MTV videos and the greatest hit CD, you know, I've skated by with my Ratt knowledge. Once this one got picked for the podcast, I figured I'd give it a good in-depth listen, and you know, pretty sure I'll like it. We'll see what happens.
No, yeah, I'll do. This is one that I dust off from time to time and just listen to all the way through because I just love it, just like the first one. What I was going to say about the about today and my video and whatnot. So I done the one for Lisa's song, and you know, my buddy was like, "Did you do that with AI?" And I was like, "Fuck no! I'm a fucking artist, man. It took me fucking 4 days to do that of painstakingly editing that thing." So, but that leads me to this. You never like. Everybody just assumes now you just cheated and used AI to write a book, to do a video,
Yeah.
to write a song. It's like, I don't fucking roll like that. Fuck that shit. Fuck AI.
We are
Lisa.
the pre-internet
That's-
generation. We don't play
that's
that
right.
game.
That's right. We don't fuck around with that. Lisa,
Yeah.
this album, how familiar were you with it?
I definitely listened to it and owned it back in the day. I don't think I was playing this one on repeat end to end back in the day like I was some of the others, but definitely was listening to my favorite songs off here. I've seen Ratt a handful of times. Well, I think 5 or 6 times back in the day, and then once or twice in the last decade or so. Never met them. Amazing, right? I have not seen the shows with DeMartini and Piercy reunion. I plan to if we can get to the next one in August. I think the guys' stage costumes were a bit dated for me. Like when they put their videos out in the early 80s, they were perfection, right? It was everything, but the costumes never changed from that point forward. And I think they lost me a little bit as we got towards the 90s. They have some great songs. I don't have any memories attached to any of these songs. So there's no like emotion for me for this album. Thank goodness, because we've had a couple of doozies over there.
You need a week off.
I needed a break, yeah. But I definitely remembered how much this band was played on MTV, regular rotation, Headbangers Ball, and also on WAAF 107.3 in Boston.
Rock of Boston. All right. Let's rate the singer. As always, it's 1 through 100, 25% on hair, 25% on stage and presence, and 50% on vocal talent. Well, I really fucking bumbled through that. I will go first. So Stephen Piercy, and this is going to go to the look you were talking about, Lisa. I mean, when they first came out, they were dressed differently than everybody else. They were dressed like a Nagel painting.
Right.
They were dressed like pop fucking Duran Duran. They were fucking so different.
Yes.
So Stephen Piercy had this different look and style for the day. I mean, he could have seamlessly slipped into a band like Duran Duran, like no problem with that fucking hair and that, like no problem. You know, or any of those bands, you know, You Spin Me Right, like he's there. He's in that band.
Dead or Alive.
And his voice wasn't harsh or goofy like some of the other singers of the time period. It was just different for me. I don't know. I just knew immediately I was hearing something different when I got my first Ratt album. And he was cool on stage. Like when you look back at some of these guys, it looks a little goofy. Like he's not over the top. He's not kicking ass. But when I look back, it's cool. Like that's the only thing I can say. It's cool. So 20.1 for the hair. He takes a slight hit for the curls, okay? Next, 22.1 for style and moves. Again, he was an 80s pop rock star, not a hair metal fucking dude. He wasn't up there banging his head and kicking ass. And a lot of the guys back then were playing for the guys. Like guys went to these shows and it was tough and you had your denim vest, you had your leather jacket. No, Stephen Piercy was playing for the ladies.
That's
And I
right.
like that,
Yeah.
right? Next, I know technically he's not an amazing singer, but he does, in my opinion, have timeless vocal style. And for a guy that's coming out doing a quote unquote hair metal album in 1985, I think this still stands up today and doesn't sound overly dated. And I emphasize style, his super cool melodies and stylistic timing. If you know what I mean, if you know, you know, the timing are on point. So for me, 46.3 there for a total score of 88.5 for Stephen Piercy. Dave.
Yes. So I'm giving him a 12.5 on hair. It's not great. You know, distinctive, yes, I guess. Nobody else looked like this guy. The weird curly hair covering one eye and his headband, you know, he kind of looked like a bootleg Prince.
Dave, explain the picture you fucking texted me.
Okay, well, I also texted to our group chat. I found a picture of Stephen Piercy and a picture of Gloria Estefan from
Yes,
Miami Sound Machine. Pretty much with the same hairdo. And I put them side by side and we called it twinsies.
It was hard. It was hard. I couldn't unsee it.
But yeah, you know, it's like a little bootleg Prince vibe, you know, especially he's rocking the pirate shirt, you know.
But again, there you go to the argument. He was a pop star.
Yeah, you could say that. So we'll give him a 16 on style. His clothes were kind of weird. You know, I watched a video where he's live and he looked like a heavy metal aerobics instructor. He's got like the knee pads and like a big puffy shirt, and it's weird.
You're killing me today.
He's not a pretty boy, and his stage moves were just kind of, you know, I get what you said about, you know, him hanging back and being cool and, you know, not goofy like some other guys, and I can appreciate that, but you know, he just sort of wandered around the middle of the stage, you know, let the other guys take the spotlight and, you know, run back and forth. And, you know, maybe in this band, that was the right move. And I'll give him a 34 on vocal talent. You know, he's not a great singer, but he does have a distinctive sound, almost a snarl. That's a lot of times having that distinctive sound is way more valuable than, you know, just pure vocal skill or being able to hit a high note. Giving Steven a 62.5.
Fucking Linda Ronstadt. I'm like, he's fucking ready to fucking do a aerobics class. That's fucking hilarious.
Ratt aerobics.
Lisa. Ratt aerobics. Come on.
Now we've discovered why I like him so much. So I think he's a great frontman. He had a signature hairstyle with the bandana and the hair pushed over to the side, which you didn't usually see. So I have a funny story. My friend, her boyfriend is in a doom metal band. You know, big, huge, tall guy, plays guitar. You know what doom metal is. It's scary, basically, music. It's you know, borderline black metal, a little less, you know, growling. And so they were going to an 80s prom event at Kodo. So she was dressing him up in like a, you know, a funny 80s outfit, and he had his hair parted in the middle and straight down, and he's looking in the mirror and he's like, Metallica, and then he pushes his hair to the side and puts a bandana on and he's like, Poison. Like, that's what reminds me of Stephen Piercy, is that push to the side with the bandana. That's the look, right?
That's fucking awesome.
The side ponytail was big during that time too for women as well. So
I wore it.
Yeah.
with the scrunchie.
Yeah.
Side pony.
Yeah. I have a picture of you with that.
With the side
Yes.
crunchy.
Yeah.
I had one for a while.
Mm-hmm.
Side crunchy
Yeah.
for everybody.
I like that he was willing to dress up, kind of costumey, which I like, bordering on pirate style. That's a good thing, David.
I don't want to look like a pirate.
I don't want to look like a pirate.
And I get what you mean, that like the Duran Duran bands, like the post punk, like the electro pop. That was
Yeah.
the look. It was great, which I love. Of course, that's why I love it. He wore lots of white for some reason. White boots, white shirts, white skin tight pants. Why was everyone wearing white in
He
the
was a
80s?
He was a swashbuckler.
It was very strange, very strange. The
He
obsession
needed
with
a
white.
sword.
Yeah.
He needed a sword. He was missing a sword.
He had an attractive face. He had the cheekbone jawline thing going on. He was fit. He spent a lot of his time either shirtless or with like shirts that were buttoned down to his pants that were just kind of open at the front. There was some guy liner, not a lot, not enough guy liner.
He did. He packed it. He had the designs and he was drawing all over his face.
Yeah, I needed a little more, I think.
Okay.
He's aged pretty well. He's right now he rocks a pretty strong hat game.
He's a fucking mummy.
That's what Dave said. I don't see it like that.
Beef jerky.
No, I disagree. No.
Sorry.
No.
He is Jack Links.
I think he's fine. He's an older guy and he's still rocking it and he's still fit and he's still wearing the outfits and he's still singing. What are you guys going to be like at that age? Okay.
I look great. I'm fucking ripped. I don't know about fucking. I'm sure I'll still look amazing.
Yeah. His voice is super recognizable, if not super unique. He could hit some high notes. He wasn't hitting, higher registers across the board. He did have a higher register overall for his voice, though. So, like, if you try to do a cover of this, you have to have a singer that has a slightly higher pitch to be able to do these songs properly. He moves around on stage. He keeps your eye. Despite being in the band of men who are completely costumed. And honestly, Robin Crosby was trying to be the focus if you watch them play. And he was a good looking guy, a very, very tall guy as well. So you had to really be a strong singer to be in a band next to that type. Now, Warren DeMartini, very reserved compared to the other guys, but I think a lot of women liked that and actually focus was on him a lot of the time. So, I've always enjoyed the live shows. He's energetic even now. You can watch tons of live footage from over the years. He really hasn't ever stopped. Total score of 83.1.
I think we're going to break a record today with the length of this podcast.
I told you I had a lot to say about this. I didn't think I would. So,
guys, get over to YouTube, okay, and check out Dave's audition video for Steel Panther, okay? Do yourself a favor and go watch this. It is fucking epically amazing.
Yep.
Dave, tell them how they can find this video.
If you go on YouTube and just type in Dave Meyer or Steel Panther audition, you'll probably find it.
There's two, actually.
There are two. You have to watch them both.
There's the song, and then there's the interview portion.
It's brilliant.
In costume.
And what was your name in there?
Fruity Sparkles.
Fruity Sparkles. So
just
get
like
over.
Rudy Sarzo, I named myself Fruity Sparkles.
So go check out Fruity Pebbles on fucking YouTube. You will not be disappointed. This is a lot of fun. Dave is a creative dude. He sent it to me. I fucking almost shit myself laughing. Okay, Lisa, will you please add up those scores and tell us where Stephen Piercy lands on the Violent Vinyl Frontman leaderboard?
Sure. On the Violent Vinyl Frontman leaderboard, Stephen Piercy of Ratt comes in at number 10 with a total score of 78.03, right behind Bret Michaels and in front of Paul Stanley, Gene Simmons clone. Like, the two of them.
Bullshit! Ain't no way he's hotter than me. I'm hotter than hell. Okay, let's get into the tracks and break this fucking thing down. Try and get it done before on New Year's Eve. Number 1, You're in Love. I fucking love this track. This stereo left and right guitar intro filled with amazing guitar sounds and riffs sets up this gem perfectly. It has incredible lyrics and vocals, killer drums and bass, and a super greasy lead guitar. This one is a banger, Dave.
This song rules. Guitars separated left and right. Both sound really cool. Great tone. This was the second single from the album. Of course, killer DeMartini guitar solo. Lots of production, background vocals, and struck by lightning sound effects. I think the production adds a lot to their sound. The song hit number 89 on the Billboard and number 34 on the Billboard Top Rock Tracks chart. Great opener. The video features the band playing on a big stage in concert, cut in with old-time movie clips.
Dude, the production on this album is fucking spectacular.
Oh, yeah.
Spectacular. I actually A-B'd it with the first one this morning. The first one, as good as it is, not as good as this one. This one's fucking, Lisa.
Fire.
Big memory song for me. Great guitar riff opening until we get the vocals and the percussion coming in. This is when you immediately see how good the production is. You can hear everything clearly. Piercy says this is not a love song. He says it's a warning, a danger zone song.
Danger zone.
Yeah, that you can get caught up in love and lose your bearings. The lyrics are fun. They tell a story of what it's like to fall in love and like, hooray, you're in love, but more like, watch out, you're in love, damn it.
You're boned.
Yeah, you're boned. This hook in this song is undeniable. It kind of even starts with the hook right in the post chorus.
Mm-hmm.
We get a great vocal tone from Steven. He's got a metal high tone to his voice that carries this nice melody. The gang vocals on this are absolutely epic. And before I really understood how good Juan was at singing, I was like, did they bring in people? No, they didn't have to. The band was freaking great.
They had a ringer.
Yeah.
The bass player.
This guitar solo is one of my favorites. I think it's a DeMartini solo, if I'm not mistaken.
Definitely is.
Let's go a little music theory nerd, because this kind of touches on classical music. There is a Mixolydian scale in this. Did you know that?
Ooh, no, I don't even know what that is.
D-Mixolydian scale. It starts on the fifth with a flat on the seventh. It's a scale you very rarely see unless the music is medieval, and it's used in this song, which is amazing.
Oh, that's so cool.
Yeah, along with a bunch of other, we've got some D minor and some pentatonics in there as well. But this is a scale you never see in a glam song. So I think the song overall is kind of in a minor key, which I think plays along with it being kind of a warning song, which I think is kind of cool. We've got a video for this, scenes from old movies. We get great concert footage with the guys fully dressed up in big 80s hair. We get 80s pyro exploding on the stage. We've got Piercy in a rhinestone dripped jacket with a big white boots. With Robin with his he's got the shoulder exposed shirt. What do we call that? The cold shoulder
Flash
shirt.
dance.
Good Lord. Yeah.
Flash dance.
That
is flash dance.
That didn't become a thing, like the cold shoulder shirt, until like the late 90s. Like he was way out of his time. We have lots of Warren with lots of scarves. Actually looked a little bit like you, Dave. Yeah.
Well, I grew up watching this. So.
Yeah. So
Warren was so cool, that white and black guitar. And, good.
So the first black and white scene is Errol Flynn and Olivia de Havilland, who were in Gone with the Wind together. This is a movie called Santa Fe Trail. And the closing scene was Marilyn Monroe playing Grunyan's client in a movie called Love Happy.
Groucho.
Yeah, as a kid, I didn't totally get this video because I didn't understand why the old movies were kind of woven in on it. It seemed a bit weird, but I did like the concert footage. The footage was filmed in over 2 dates in '85 at the Mississippi Gulf Coast Coliseum in Biloxi and at the Hirsch Memorial Coliseum in Shreveport, Louisiana.
Interesting. Gone with the Wind, very controversial now.
It is, yeah.
Interesting. Okay, track number 2, Never Use Love. Another great intro using the Ratt stereo guitar formula. And if you listen to the show, you know I love separation between the guitars in a 2-guitarist band. And these guys do it great, man. They don't sound anything alike. They don't play anything alike. And they never play the same thing. They're always playing something different. And as a guitar player, I just love sitting back and listening to it. And I'll listen to the song and listen to one side just to hear what Robin's doing. And I'll listen to the other side just to hear what fucking Warren's doing. And they're always doing something different. And it's what makes this music so interesting. And I'll get into that later about how they can take a basic, riff and really just spruce it up with just technical guitar playing. It's awesome. Blotcher, he's playing great on this album. He really is. I mean, I listen to Dawkins and I always feel like, like Mick Brown is like just not as quite a good version of Bobby Blotzer. Bobby Blotzer is just like, he's just great. And he gets a great drum sound. And we get a killer setup bridge. And you guys know I love a bridge. And this one is fucking a classic. I love this track. What can I say? Fucking awesome. Dave.
I was a little bored on this one until I get to the chorus, which is pretty good. The riff for me is a little generic, but definitely a decent album track. Not a ton of lyrics here, but at least he's not rhyming, maybe and baby and fire and desire. He did better than that. So, 10 points.
Lisa.
I'm sensing a theme. We've got another song about love here.
A lot of love.
I love the great guitar opening. We get a metal scream right at the beginning. Production quality immediately, right in the front. We've got some vocal echo effects that are used nicely in here. I don't sense a lot of hook here. I don't think that the chorus is all that great. I think until the last line of the chorus, when the chords change and we go a little darker, then I kind of like it. Lyrics are a little empty, not much of a story. Maybe saying like, don't use love as an excuse for your bad behavior. Not totally sure about that. Nice guitar solo playing right into the outro. Almost seems too good for the song that we just had. We get a nice vocal outro. So when they start repeating at the repeating lines at the end, we get the hook there. Why did they wait until the end to put the hook in? Like, I needed that earlier in the song. Great gang vocals again. I like the slowdown at the end and then finishing with an actual stop rather than the extended play out. So
I feel like they were very unorthodox the way they wrote their songs. And it's one of the charms to Ratt for me. And, the message never used love. I always loved it because I always felt like it was like, people do that. Like, don't use the fact that I love you to treat me shitty and think I'm just going to stick around. So, they weren't super deep with their vocal, their lyrics, but they always hit like a note with me where I'm like, it's not super goofy. It's kind of real to life. I like it.
If you love me, you would pay for everything. If you love me, you would just shut up when I do something wrong.
Yes. And that's the message here. And I thought it was a good one.
Good concept.
Yes. Track number. I'm sure Stephen Pierce would be like, that's not what it's about at all.
Yeah, right.
Number 3, Lay It Down. Well, that's why I did that last video for the last song I did, When the Lord Calls, because I wanted people to know what the song was actually about. And it's funny. I wonder if when people watch the little video I made, if they'll understand it more. Who knows? I'm sure I'll get a bunch of fucking shitty fucking feedback on it, but whatever. Track number 3, Lay It Down. Come on, lay it down. What can I say? This is a 100-watt song all day. Intro guitar riff is hair metal magic. It's one of my favorite 80s riffs of all times. And you probably think you're playing it right, but you're probably not. I don't play it right, but whatever. Track is produced so unbelievably well. The stereo guitars are so good. They are playing completely different riffs and licks, and I absolutely love it. We get these little synth accents on this song that just fit it perfectly, and it's what makes this pop rock. It's so fucking good. You are never going to hear synths like this on a fucking metal album. It's so different. I love everything Piercy is doing here, and Juan and Bobby are playing so well together. I love this track. Dave.
Yes, I've played this one with my old 80s cover band, the Sunset
Were you playing
Strippers.
it right? Were you playing it right?
No. It's I play the cheat version because the real version is too goddamn hard to play.
I love your honesty. I know you could play it though. That's awesome.
Coincidentally, the Sunset Strippers will be playing a reunion show at Hairfest at Indian Ranch, Webster, Massachusetts next month, Saturday, July 19th, 2025, on the beach stage. Maybe we'll play this song.
Get your asses down there.
So this was the first single off the album, very similar to track 1 with the guitar intro and the down-tuned low string on the guitar. Both are great songs. Juan and Steven have writing credits on both. This one also includes the guitarists in the writing credits. According to Wikipedia, it was demoed while the band was in Hawaii on vacation from their Out of the Cellar tour. Lay It Down reached number 40 on the Billboard Hot 100 and number 11 on the mainstream rock chart during the summer of 1985. So I watched the video, and wow, way to start it. A super creepy clown.
Love it.
Young Steven's making a birthday wish. Grown-up Steven singing to a girl. That girl is the album cover model, Marianne, by the way. Got it. A huge sounding guitar riff and heartbeat kick drum. Band plays, and if you look too close, it's kind of like they raided their mom's makeup cabinets. Not sure if these guys would make it as drag performers, but
Uh-oh.
You guys are terrible.
Oh, dude.
That was the 80s.
When Warren crashes through the ceiling and rips that guitar solo, fucking forget about it. Lisa.
So now we have the guitar riff of the ages. It's so memorable and so perfect, and it bleeds right out of the previous song. I don't know if you noticed that, but it just came in perfectly. The vocals are super clear on this one. His voice comes through with the perfect song, and we get a little sexiness in it. Something about the first line and the way he delivers it. It's that melody we were talking about where it's like no one else's melody, I know you don't really love me. It's like no one does that, beautiful. Yeah, this song has an epic hook. I think this is what the previous song we just had really needed. The backup vocals are so strong on the whole album so far. The lyrics are really sexy without having to talk about a little girl or a whore. It's just perfect. Really nice bridge on this song where his voice comes down into like a deep whisper. It's like a perfect break in the song. Fantastic guitar solo, really emotive and not too shreddy. Had he gone like too shreddy on this, it would have been too much for the song, and he knew that because he was good at what he was doing. We get another repeated chorus in the outro. I'd like to have heard even more guitar at this point, or a secondary solo, but we weren't gifted that. The video starts with one of Dave's favorite things in the whole world, a creepy clown terrifying children at a birthday party.
Yes.
And little boy Steven, incidentally, the boy was played by Whit Flint. This little boy had already appeared in an episode of The Fall Guy before appearing in this video, and would go on to appear in so many movies and shows, including Poltergeist 2, My Sister Sam, Cagney and Lacey, Beaches, Mr. Belvedere, Full House, Addams Family, Mad TV, Raising Hope, Jurassic Park, and did vocal work in countless cartoons. And that is just a fraction of what he did for the rest of his life.
I loved him in Jurassic Park.
Yes.
That was so good.
Yeah. Yep. So then we break into the concert footage from the band, and they're all decked out in rhinestones and sequins. Steven with his signature side-swept hair. These clothes are really super early 80s concert clothes, more rock and less glam, maybe a little bit more electro pop, as we were talking about. Scarves and ripped shirts and leather bracelets. Wait a minute. So actually my comment was, we don't see many pirate themed items on this stage, and then wait a minute, there's Steven dressed up as a pirate with Marianne, who I believe was his girlfriend at the time. Playmate of the Month, October 92, Playmate of the Year in 83. She eventually got married to someone else and had 3 children, and her husband now own a sports bar in Huntington Beach, California. And did you notice the snakeskin Charvel guitar that Warren is playing in the video?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Real
Fun
snake.
fact. So Marianne was actually starting a clothing company at the time, and she was a low talker. And she had...
I don't want to be a pirate.
Okay.
Yeah.
So there you go.
And then I like how Steven would raise up his fist in the video, and it's like check out my bracelets.
Yeah. Yeah.
I feel like if Rat had actually gone more the pop rock route and embraced that, like, electric pop thing like Lisa's saying,
Mm.
I feel like this band could have been one of those bands like a Duran Duran that transcended all time and genre,
Yeah.
and nothing was going to take them out. They were just going to be a great pop band from the 80s that was forever. But they jumped on the hair metal wagon, and unfortunately that's just going to sink your ship in 1992. Okay, so we ready for track 4?
Yes.
All right, well, that would be Give It All. This one for me, sneaky good song. Sneaky good. The bridge is fucking killer. And they put this really nice effect on Steven's voice. And they do this on this whole album. You're hearing effects on his vocals that you're not hearing on anybody else's hair metal albums. They're so you just identify it as Stephen Piercy, and the engineer they had his sound dialed in. It's so I don't know, want to use the word spooky, but just so moody and smoky and just I love it. The solo on this one is fucking killer. And Rat had a way of using the gang vocals without sounding like unusually dated. And I had said it earlier, they would actually put him in like the verses and stuff, which you never really hear. And they don't sound like 5 dipshits that can't sing just screaming into a microphone. That's not what we're getting here. Really good. And if I'm not mistaken, I think Robin Crosby only gets one guitar solo on this album to himself. Might be 2, but there was only one that I identified. As soon as the song came on, I went, oh, that's not Warren DeMartini. And I Googled it, and I'm like, no, it's Robin Crosby. So there you go. Dave.
Yes, the formula is working. Big guitar riff, intro solo is pleasantly melodic, matching the chorus we're going to hear in this song. This one was written by Crosby and Piercy. I don't like the way that Steven jams together Just Give It All. It just sounds weird, but I guess you remember it. The bridge / guitar solo changing feel and chords is a nice touch, as is the little breakdown of the chorus before the end.
I like that too. I didn't get it in my notes, but I enjoyed that as well. Lisa.
Another great riff opening. But what I really notice is that it's a much thicker sound than the other songs. You definitely hear both guitars, and you hear both clearly and them working together just perfectly. This is really what it means to have 2 lead guitarists versus like a rhythm and a lead. I think that was pretty obvious there. The lyrics in the song are sexy, complex enough to tell a really good story this time, and not a cheesy 80s romance, but like an actual woman. Holy crap. Not a super hook in this song, but at least it's somewhat catchy. I don't think you'd be singing to this song the first time that you hear it. Nice drop in the tone in the guitar solo. The solo is nice, complex, and just shreddy enough. And then we get the same arrangement at the end where they repeat the lead and finally make it into a hook when there wasn't a hook earlier. Get a nice stick ending on this one. So glad it wasn't another drawn out play out, even though I wouldn't mind more guitar solos here. I think they could have made the guitar solos longer on this album instead of having them so short and like trying to stick stuff at the ending of the song. No video for this one, but as I should have mentioned before, there is a ton of live footage of this band going all the way back into the late 70s and up through today, including the reunion of Piercy and DeMartini at a few shows like M3.
Lisa, I so agree about the solos. I wish they were longer. I wish they let them just play more. 100%. And the thing about the choruses, what you're talking about, though, is if they had put all the hooks where they belong, really traditionally on a hair metal album, and then not done this thing at the end where they give you this secondary idea or reimagination of the choruses, then it is just your standard hair metal album.
Yeah.
And maybe it's catchier and maybe the songs work better for like punching you in the face and like getting this on the radio. But again, the way they did this just makes the album very interesting and timeless to me. So, I mean, it's a double-edged sword, I guess. And the way you're talking about the guitars being really big on this one, the 2 guitar players, but still being able to hear everything they're playing left and right. This is something that we missed on an album like, literally 30 years later, like Velvet Revolver. You get these 2 great guitar players, Slash is the superior player, but on that album, it's just a wall of sound.
It's mud is what it
is mud.
Yeah.
It is just a wall of sound, and you cannot hear what they're fucking doing. And then you go back and listen, Appetite for Destruction. It's the exact opposite. You're getting this again, where you can hear everything these two guys are playing. So, it is a fine, as Nigel would say, it's a fine line between clever and stupid.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, track number 5, which is the final song on the first half of the album, and this is called Closer to My Heart. For me, the story is the charm of this song. And the way they feather these gang vocals into the verses, this is where they start doing this on the album. I thought it was very clever and very different. And, it really props up, Stephen Pearcy. It's good, man. And in the spots where Juan is harmonizing with Stephen Pearcy, it's fucking magic. Juan Crosier almost sounds like Stephen Pearcy just singing in another register. And as a child listening to this, 15, 16 years old, I never realized that, Juan was singing. I just thought it was all Stephen Pearcy. And that is good. That's a good thing for me. We get both Robin and Warren in this solo. And even though Warren is way better, I love when they play together. They do this a lot. And it just really works. They play great together, and that goes for the entire band. The entire band they play great together, and they all play for the song. And that's what makes these songs so good for me. Dave.
Acoustic guitar intro. There's some clean electric layered in there too. This is another one written by Crosby and Pearcy. I hear some electronic drum accents. The pre-chorus has some clean guitar call and response with the vocal, if you listen closely. Ratt has completely their own sound between the lead and the backup vocals and the guitar. They're very identifiable, and even if you don't know the song they're playing, it sounds familiar and sounds like them. The last 30 seconds of the song, they step up the tempo and sneak in one more cool guitar solo. Sounds to me like it might be Robin doing leads on this track.
Yeah, it's a little of both. They both play on this one. Lisa.
So is this power ballad-ish, do you think?
Not really.
It's a slower tempo song,
Yeah.
starting out acoustic, but it goes electric pretty quick. So
Yep.
that's why I was like, do we call it that or do we
We don't
not
really
call it
get a
that?
traditional
We don't.
hair metal ballad on this
Yeah,
album.
no.
Fine with that.
I feel like the arrangement in this song is a tiny bit off. I would want the pre-chorus to be merged with the chorus. The line "Fallen Out of Love" is a much better hook.
Oh, it is.
Yeah, than One Step Closer to My Heart. Sounds a bit awkward and isn't as smooth. I like the lyrics, dark, figuring out that someone is a liar or a cheater and that you have to let go. There's a bit of anger and darkness in this song. And who hasn't experienced that, especially me, quite recently? Lovely guitar solo, sad but angry at the same time. Again, it's not long enough. Like this, I think, was actually the one I was most angry on the album that they cut off and just immediately went into another chorus. I was like angry. I was like, what are you doing? Like that's so short.
Let it roll.
Let it roll. Oh my God. It does seem though that when that chorus comes in, he's still playing like a little bit behind the vocals at that point. And it almost like he's like, no, I'm not done yet. Like, let me finish.
Yeah, let me go.
Let me finish.
The first album, they gave him longer leashes. There's
Yeah.
more solos on the first album.
Right. Thankfully we do get a second solo at the end here, which is so freaking good. It's still dark and it still fits the song. It's a little bit shreddier than the short one that we had before, and they fucking fade that one out too.
Yep.
So, God, annoying.
Dude, when he says "fallen out of love," that's so Vane. It's
Yeah.
so Davy Vane.
Yeah.
It's so good.
So good.
Falling
That should have
out
been
of
the
love.
name. Yeah.
Oh, it's got this great melody to it, and I couldn't fucking love it anymore. All right, so boys and girls, that ends side A. So flip the show over and slap it on the ass. All right, we're gonna go into the next segment. This is Should They Have Made It? And for this week's Should They Have Made It segment, I chose Swingin' Thing, and the song was All That Glitters. So for me, this is exactly the kind of band that should have made it in the late 80s. They had a great diverse look, from the tall, skinny singer to the guitarist with a big blonde mohawk. They were trying to do something a little different at the time, and that was important at this time, because if you were just a Poison clone, you were dead in the water. So, these guys were definitely trying to break the mold. Like I said, you get the mohawk, you get the skinny guy, you get the dude with the jet black hair. They're all playing Les Pauls. You know, specifically the guy with the mohawk and the motorcycle boots really stood out for me as a really great choice for this band. So yeah, I thought they looked a little different than other bands that were going at this time. As for the song, I think it's a glorified demo that's pretty fucking good. I mean, could it use a producer to tighten it up a little and add that final coat of polish? Sure. But my favorite part of this song is the bridge. It has that Blink 182 era feel to me. These guys were definitely doing it their own way. They were definitely refining the hair metal a little bit visually and musically. What I thought was a bit weak was the guitar solo. Unfortunately, it was too simple. It was too short. Obviously, they didn't have a great lead guitar player. So, you know, they worked with what they had. It wasn't enough for me. But overall, I think the song is pretty awesome. I thought the video was pretty awesome. And I think it's pushing 81.8. Nope, that's 81.1 watts. That's what I got. And yes, I think these guys should have made it. Dave.
I'm watching the video from DDR Music Group. That's Demon Doll Records.
Yes.
Go check them out for all your underground hard rock needs.
They tried to sign Touch Me Hooker, and our bass player at the time had, you know, a problem because his picture wasn't in the picture that Demon Doll Records wanted to use for the album cover. So he was like insisting that they make his picture be alone on the disc or the back cover, and Demon Doll Records didn't want to do that, and it just went back, and it became such a thing to do from Demon Doll Records. Was like, you know what, fuck you guys, we're not doing it.
Yeah.
And that was it. I was so pissed.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
whatever. It is what it is. So sorry. Keep going, Dave.
I think back in the day, we sent them a stack of Demon's Alley CDs to sell through their store, if I remember right. Anyway, some abandoned warehouse, this video, in an old store or some shit. I don't know. Music is pretty cool. The singer comes in before you really expect him to in the song. Like they don't kind of set up his entrance. So I wasn't crazy about that. And then like how many dudes are in this band? Holy shit. Like you just see like dudes after dudes, like what the fuck? Is this an orchestra? No, I guess it was 5 guys, but you know, not real lookers. There's a Mohawk guy. I took note of him. Band is reasonably cool looking. Whatever. I'm guessing this was the early 2000s.
No,
91.
91.
91.
Just at the end.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
91.
just at the end.
Okay. The hooks aren't quite strong enough for me. You know, it's fine. It totally sounds and looks like a band that would have been on a bill with, my old band or one of Dez's old bands, back in the 2000s. I did see a live video of theirs from 2019. Almost everyone in the band had cut their hair short. The song is okay, but I'll give it a 70.1. I don't think they were ready to make it. I'm not going to remember the song, 10 minutes after I watched it.
Dave, I agree with everything you said. I want to change my score to 75.1. And maybe they should
change the score.
All right, Lisa, go ahead.
Okay.
Dave, you made a lot of good points there.
This band originally was named Just the Things, and changed to Swingin' Things. I went to search for the band, and the first thing that came up, I think, was the cover of one of their albums or a demo, and I think they look freaking cool. Big hair, polka dots, lots of scarves, sleaze rock, glam punk was kind of their look. The guys are kind of pretty, lots of high cheekbones and smoldering looks. They did have a few albums, no major labels here. Demon Doll obviously is the one that we know and love, but they didn't seem to have signed with Demon Doll until 2009. It looks like they formed later in the glam movement, so they weren't a band until 1987, and they didn't really start packing clubs until 91 when they had their original record deal in Japan, which fell apart basically as grunge came up. I like the song. It's great. It's fun. The video is from some warehouse to a dressing room to what I think is supposed to be a stage with stage lights, but weirdly without an audience. I think I'd have liked to see some footage of them playing a live show because I read that their live shows were pretty crazy. The melody reminds me of like 20 other glam punk songs that sound like it. It has a great melody and a great vibe. There's more than one hook here, though. The All That Glitters isn't really the hook for me. It's the "We Won't Change or Rearrange" part.
Yep.
That's the hook for me. Guitar solo is great for the song. Maybe better than some of the other bands that were kind of in this genre of that didn't make it bands.
That's a Dez guitar solo.
Yeah, well, I like Dez guitar solos, so
Yeah, I didn't like it.
yeah. So they have a guy that looks a little bit like Kurt Cobain, and they have a guy with a mohawk, and they have the singer that's like the heroin chic guy. They have like everybody's got their own look.
Yep.
I think these guys were just simply too late to the party. Had they been 3 or 4 years earlier, maybe they would have gone somewhere. I do think they should have made it. 77.8.
Yeah, you hit it. They were late to the party. That's it.
Mm-hmm.
I think with as big as they were in Hollywood in '92, if this had been 1987, they were getting a deal.
They were, yeah.
But I agree, Dave. This song needed a producer, needed a ton of work, and the chorus needed a ton of work. But yeah, they had what it took. So, Lisa, add it up. Tell us where they're landing here.
Okay, Swinging Things, All That Glitters on the Violent Vinyl, should they have made it chart, comes in at 76.33, which puts them at number 2 on the chart, below Rock City Angels, Teenage Lipstick Boys, and above Glamour Punk's Video Nasty.
What? How is fucking Back Alley Sally not number 1 on this list?
They're number 4 now. No, 3.
That is fucking crap.
No, they're 4, yeah.
Oh, they're 4, yeah.
All right, can we just put Swinging Thing number 1 and remove Rock City Angels? They
Nope.
are not qualified to be on this list. I will die on that sword.
I liked them. Oh,
They were great, but they weren't a fucking unsigned band.
So do you think they should have made it? I think they should have made it. You said no, right, Dave?
I said no.
Yeah, well, you
So
lost.
They should have made it.
I got outvoted.
Yeah.
All right, can we at least put an asterisk next to Rock City Angels?
No.
Come on, they bet on baseball. They shouldn't be in the Hall of Fame.
I put an asterisk right next to it
Okay.
in the spreadsheet.
All right, boys and girls. So here we go to side number 2. And track number 6 on side number 2 is Between the Eyes. This song has a cool vibe with a really nice sound and great effects. It has a really cool mix of acoustic and electric guitars all over it. And finally, I love the melodies that Steven uses in the verses and the bridges of this song. And finally, we get another greasy solo with effortless runs. It is so fucking technical and perfect. I love it. Dave.
Rock and groove on this one. It was written by Warren and Steven. Cool guitar solo. We even get some acoustic soloing towards the end. And I love the ending where it's got that clean guitar. Just everything else drops out. That was a really nice touch. I did find on YouTube a video of a cover band back in the 80s covering this song. They were called Under Pressure. Ugh, great name. I'm a Queen fan, but that's a rotten band name. They were probably hot shit in their town. The band sounds fine, but the singer, bad tone, and he's about 5'3". Yeesh. And they're dressed like dorks.
What a strange song to choose as to cover.
Yeah.
In that era.
Yeah.
Totally.
Nobody's at this show except 2 people in the front that are probably like their sisters. It's a ridiculous video.
Lisa.
Immediately, I like the tempo of this song. I also like the dropping vocals in the verse. Another unique melody that we haven't heard anywhere else. He sounds sexy, even though he's talking about being cheated on. I love the transition between the choruses and the verses, a completely different key and feeling from each other while maintaining that slow tempo. The verses seem to have the melody going down, and the choruses have the melody lines going up, which I think is a cool contrast.
Yeah.
Lyrics tell a story about being cheated on and trying to show someone who has cheated on you that they've hurt you, but that never works because if they cared about how you felt, they wouldn't have cheated in the first place. But I do know this feeling of wanting to show someone who's betrayed you how much damage they have done, but they won't ever care. Garbage people will always be garbage people. Super short guitar solo here, but he packs so much in those few seconds. I think it's really great. This song has a hook, but honestly, that's not what draws me to this song. It's the great arrangement. We get an instrumental breakdown with some great percussion on the outro, some strains of a great guitar solo with a lot of emotion, and we get what sounds like an acoustic guitar playing a few notes that blends in beautifully in the beginning, right into the beginning of the next song. No video here, but I wanted to bring up that when you search for Ratt's music, trying to find videos of them, you'll see tons of videos of guitarists and bassists playing covers of the songs, whether it be the riffs or the solos. You don't see this with every band. You see it maybe with Van Halen, maybe a little bit with Nuno from Extreme, but like I didn't see much of this at all with like Faster Pussycat or LA Guns. We need to see more of it. I love to see people trying to play like their mentors, trying to match the solo, but also trying to put a different flavor on the music. I want to see if people can go beyond what their mentors did. So yeah.
That's really the thing, evolution, right?
Mm-hmm.
My guitar videos will be coming soon.
Nice. I like that.
Check out YouTube channel Rock and Roll Saloon.
Rock and Roll Saloon. Bookmark it, folks. I'll get over there. Maybe we can fucking play a little better. Track number
what's your
7.
channel?
What's my channel?
Yeah.
Dez.
I don't even know what
It's
my
just
channel is.
Dez.
No, isn't it like the
Yes,
lucid
Dez.
dreaming? Isn't it like the lucid dreaming garage or
Oh,
something
you have
bizarre?
that one too. Yeah.
I don't know.
But if you search Dez, you can find all of Dez stuff.
All right. Track number 7. What you give is what you get. Great intro with a nice little solo included with it. I liked it a lot. Again, I'm never bored by what's going on with these stereo guitars in each ear. These guys are playing so good together on this album. We get a nice chorus with a great message on this one. Robin gets the solo here. This is it. We're not going to get any Warren DeMartini. And technically, sure, it falls off a little bit here from the rest of the album. It's not as good as Warren's solos, but Robin plays for the song. And he's a decent player. I mean, it works. It sounds like more of the other guitar players we get from this era where, you get some repeats on some notes because, maybe doesn't have a million tricks and shit. But I think he played for the song just fine and it works here. I will say that I knew immediately it wasn't Warren DeMartini. I didn't, I went to Google just to confirm, but I really didn't need to. But yeah, great song. Dave.
This one was released as a 3rd single in Japan. It was written alone by bassist Juan Crucier, who was a pretty underrated part. Sorry, how did you say it?
I think it's Crocier.
Crocier.
I like that. That's it.
I lost it.
If we're butchering that, we're
Crocier.
really sorry.
I mean,
Yeah.
we've crocheted
So
fucking.
Please correct us,
Yes,
Juan.
please correct us. Yep.
He is a pretty underrated part of this band. Great bassist and great singer, and like we talked about, we're pretty sure he's mainly the guy behind all.
Yes.
Directing the backup vocals or most prominent in their backup vocals.
Mm-hmm.
The song is good. Sounds like Ratt. Little clean guitar layered behind the chorus. Very solid album track.
Love it. Lisa, track number 7.
Another slower tempo song. Getting a little concerning, maybe a bit repetitive, but none of the songs have been bad, so I'm going in with an open mind. I do love the tone of his voice when he keeps the notes deeper, but still has like his edge there. When they go into the pre-chorus, there's a few lines. I think one of them is like, I keep holding on. And at the front of the production is his very deep vocal. And then in the back of the production, there's what seems like another track of him at a higher pitch, like he's harmonizing with himself. I'm pretty sure it's not a background singer. I'm pretty sure it's just 2 of his tracks.
I'd have to check tape.
Yeah.
Or it's Juan.
Yeah. The shotgun delivered chorus is nice, and it contrasts with the sleazier dragging vocals in the rest of the song. There's a lot of cheesy rhyming in this one, but it's not bad, and I didn't notice it terribly. Nice guitar solo with a lot of emotion, shies away from being too shreddy while still being pretty cool. We do get an additional solo on the playout that seems to extend the first one, and it really fits the song and doesn't ever go too overboard. It's really great writing. I actually think that the playout fade on this one fits the song, and I usually don't say that.
Yeah, he was fine. The lyrics on these Ratt albums, I mean, this is, like I said, this is pop rock. This is not deep fucking heavy metal, or you know what I mean? It's like they keep it light. And it's fine, and I like that. I don't need it to be fucking seasons of weather. It's never gonna go there. Track number 8 got me on the line. I love this phone call intro. Hello. It's just so good. Again, the timing of Stephen Pearcy is so much fun. I love it. This song and album are just sick. I was focused on Juan's bass track on this song. He is fucking playing great here. Get another killer solo section filled with guitar goodness. It's a guitar explosion. It's a smoothie of guitar playing. I absolutely love it. And I like the stick ending. I like the end, and I like the stick ending. This is a fucking great song. Dave.
Yeah, I noted the old timey phone ring that will wake you up if your attention was lagging.
Yep.
Song is okay. Guitar solo is good. I'm hearing a few George Lynch sounding note bends, and adding in some harmony in the second half of the solo. And then, I love Steven's great delivery at the end. And nobody hangs up on me.
So good.
That's nice.
So good. So all you kids at home, we used to have these phones. They were like these big square things with square buttons and
25 pounds.
Yes, they plugged into the wall. They had like this big curly cord. You could buy an extra long one or stretch your mom's out till it almost broke so you could get into like a closet or the bathroom or wherever you could be fucking private. And we were talking about this on the 16 Candles episode over on Hey, did you ever see that movie? Go check it out now for your movie wants. And we were talking about how back then you would get like a phone allowance, like how much time you could spend on the phone because you're tying up the house phone. So, mom and dad would be like, get off the phone. So you'd probably get like 2 hours where you could actually like hide in the bathroom and talk on the phone. Dave, did you experience this phenomenon?
Yes.
Lisa, did you experience this phenomenon?
No, I was an only child and I had my own phone line. So,
God.
yeah.
Lisa had the most blessed childhood
I
ever.
did.
Oh my God.
Also remember that like nowadays you can get anyone at any time, right? Back then, if you weren't home, you literally weren't reachable. Like that's why like got me on the line. Like it took a lot of work to actually get someone on the phone at the right time when you're both, at a phone where you can, talk to each other. It's just insanity.
Miss those days, man. I'm so sick of this fucking thing chirping at me. Jesus. All right. Yeah, you come home, you check your answer machine, and there it is. It's done. You've now fucking all right.
I like the old school phone ringing. Obviously, it brings back a lot of memories. Nice rock opening here we get that same vocal tone again. Nice chord changes in the song between the verses and the chorus. A tip of the hat for the great arrangement and writing. The lyrics on this are dated in the best way possible because we just don't treat phones like this anymore, right? He's even talking about like long distance. Like that's not even a concept anymore. Like what is that?
Special if you're going to make a long distance. Keep it short.
Yeah.
We're paying. Oh fuck.
Yep. Nice guitar solo, maybe a double guitar solo, or maybe 2 tracks of the same solo, making it thicker. I can't really tell which it is. Nice hook here. I'm not sure. I didn't really remember this song, and I don't know why. It's actually pretty good. I like the bluesy stick ending and the cute nobody hangs up on me part. I like that.
Yeah, it's good. All right, let me see. All right. Track number 9. Here we go. You should know by now. This song, great grooves. Verses cool, and for this one they skip a bridge. They don't use one in this song. They just go right from the verse to the chorus, which for me, I don't really like that, but it works for this song. It's fine. I'm okay with it. We get a nice dual guitar solo here, which I enjoy it. Like I said, I like when these guys play together. It really works for me. I guess I'd call this one a filler track. If I had to label a filler track on the album, this one would be it. But it is a solid filler track, and I remembered every word, and the chorus still works great for me. I think it's a really catchy chorus, just like every chorus on the whole album. So, yeah, Dave.
I like in their lyrics and especially their titles where they're kind of staying away from the stuff that everybody else does. Like Ratt doesn't have a song called Rattlesnake Shake.
Right.
Not to unfairly single that out, but like you should know by now. Like, it's just kind of unusual.
It's real world. It's real world too.
Right,
You should
right.
fucking know by now.
So it's not just like, oh, we have a song that's called,
Whiskey Tango, Lipstick, Switchblade.
right, exactly.
Wow.
So this song starts very abruptly and sounds like it starts with a bridge. It's a little unsettled of a sound. The chorus is pretty good and feels right where it should be with the music and the notes. In the verse, the guitars sort of echo each other back and forth, but then in the chorus, they come together solidly. More harmony we hear in the guitar solo, and a little breakdown where they add some electronic claps, but just a little. If they did it more, it would probably get too cheesy. And then I'm wondering if that's a Crosby guitar solo during the fade out.
Oh, fucking dude, I took an edible before we started. We've been going for 2 hours and 8 minutes. I'm fucking starving. I would literally eat a fucking taco through a dirty diaper right now. Lisa,
Ew.
talk about track 9. We're
We're
almost
almost
at the
there.
end,
I don't
folks.
think
We're
I
almost
can. Yuck. Okay. I also thought this song had a really weird start. In fact, the sticks finish from the previous song, I actually at first thought was a dead air stop, and that the song was just continuing on. And I was like, wait a minute, nope, this
I
is
wonder if it's
a new
just
song.
part
Is
of
this
the
the
other
same
song.
song?
Yeah, everything's just like starting to blend together for me. But we
would've
get
been
some
cool.
nice bluesy guitar here. Clear vocals on this one, same tone, but a little more isolated than the other songs. Great hook. Chorus is really strong with the additional tracks of his own voice or the backup vocals. Not sure which one, but it's catchy and I like it. We get a good solo, just shreddy enough. Sounds like the guitars change in the middle, which I think you guys confirmed that it's probably both of them playing on this solo.
Yep.
But I like the arrangement of that on this song. Fantastic bridge in this song after the solo. It breaks up the song perfectly. Then we get a dead stop with some cowbell, and the hook gets repeated. I think they were kind of priming this for a stadium, everybody screaming, but I don't think this song ever got to that point. So
I think I saw when I was looking through videos that it might have been this one where it was like they played it live in like 87 and it had a drum solo. And so they used that break. I'm
to do the
assuming
drum solo.
they used that breakdown part to go into the drum solo.
Yeah, that makes sense.
It's a good vehicle.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They leave a good amount of the song at the end for a second guitar solo, but again, it fades out too soon and they should have just let him play. My only criticism is that the lyrics outside of the hook are kind of lacking and the story is kind of blah. But I'll give it a pass. This is a fun one. I wish it was a longer song.
Not bad for the filler track.
Yeah.
Right?
Not a bad song yet. So.
Track number 10, the final track on the album, Dangerous But Worth the Risk. I love it, man. I love this message. It's so good. Like, how many times have you met someone like this? Like, no, I shouldn't, but I really just can't help myself. It always gets you in trouble. I love this for the final track of the album. We get more great drums and bass here. They are so fucking locked in, and the producers just got them sounding so good. And one of the things I love about Ratt is they can take a simple riff, like I was saying before, and fill it up with technical licks and little just chirps and chips and dips, and they just make it sound good. They fill it up with good drum beats and good sounding bass, and we get these what Motley Crue would make sound like just a boring riff. It just sounds good here. We get some great sections of this song with fun vocal ideas and interesting uses of vocal effects, which they do on this entire album, which keep it just, Lisa, does it start to blend together a little bit? I mean, did these sound like Ratt songs, like Dave said? Like, yeah, it sounds like a Ratt song. It does. But I feel like the producer used enough of an range and variety of effects and things on this album to just keep it fun to listen to. It didn't just start to sound like a warm hum, and that also, it's also helpful that these guitars are so interesting and separated so well, and the production is so clean that you can make out every little intricate thing happening from every instrument on the album. So it keeps it from just becoming a warm hum. I love the lyrics and the message in the chorus. And finally, Warren rips through the ending of this song. It's a great ending to the album. Dave.
These drums are so loaded up with effects and 80s sounding. The song is fine. It sounds like Ratt, good tagline. I like the title, but I wonder if they're overusing the title a little bit in this one. And then what is Warren doing in the fade out? Because like he's doing something crazy, and I can't even tell what he's doing there, but
He's
it's
ripping.
cool.
Yeah, he's ripping, man. He's
Yeah.
fucking on fire. He's like, you wouldn't let me play on the album, so here's everything that I fucking wanted to do. Lisa, final song on the album.
Mid-tempo song, interesting way to end an album. I expected something a little more high energy, but it sounds like all the other songs. Not bad, not good, whatever. The first verse starts out with the hook and then repeated through the chorus. It's too repetitive, I think, with that line. But they do have a pre-chorus which really changed the key and the entire feel that makes it work. I don't think they made the hook hooky enough. Is that a word? The hook
Yeah,
isn't
sure.
hooky enough. The lyrics are hook worthy, like dangerous but worth the risk is totally hook. Like that should be a great hook. I don't think it necessarily worked here, but the lyrics are fun. So dangerous but worth the risk. Your life's not threatened, but your lovin' is.
Yeah,
I
it's
love
so
that.
good.
I
It's
love
so
it.
good. It's so good.
Guitar solo is nice. A lot of effects on it, or is it just me? Sounds
Lot.
like a bit wavy or wonky or something.
A lot of effects on everything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We do have a nice bridge that does what it's supposed to do. I think they could have gone out with a little more of a banger. The songs are all so similar on this album that I'm getting a little fatigued. But if you look at each song individually, they're great and arranged well. There's just too many of the same thing, but I can't find a bad song on this album. So
Lisa, I actually have written down here writing fatigue.
yeah.
So I started to feel it too, for sure. But again, like you said, each song is, it's a good song. So you kind of give it a pass. But yeah, I feel the writing fatigue by this time on the album as well. All right, so there you go. We've broken down Ratt, Invasion of Your Privacy. I hope that you guys enjoyed the discussion. So let's get to the next part of the show. Favorite song for me, my favorite song on this album is Lay It Down. It's not even close. Killer song. What song I would cut? You should know by now because it's the filler on the album. Still a decent song. Dave.
Favorite track? Track 1, You Are in Love. I would cut, none of the songs are bad, but if I have to pick, I guess Got Me on the Line, because that phone sound is jarring and it just takes you out of it. And if you're not paying attention, it'll scare the hell out of you.
I liked that.
I did too.
I liked it too, but you catch you
Lisa.
off guard.
I came into this album thinking that You're in Love was going to be my favorite, and I'm actually going to pick Lay It Down with an honorable mention to You Should Know by Now for the great hook that just needed more lyrically. There's not a terrible song here at all. I'll choose Never Use Love because it was forgettable. Not because it was a bad song, but because by the time I was done with the album, I didn't even remember what it sounded like.
Never use love.
Yeah.
Don't want to. Sorry.
Blank.
Use love.
Yeah.
Okay.
Are we did you guys do your replacements yet?
Not yet.
Okay.
Okay, I'm going to replace Bobby Blotzer, and I don't want to replace anybody from Ratt. I really don't. I'm going to replace him with Mick Brown because I don't think I would notice right away. It would definitely be a downgrade playing wise, but only slightly. I don't think it would change the sound of the band that much, and that's what I was shooting for here. Dave.
Sorry, Blots. His drumming is fine, and he does play some tasty stuff from time to time. But from what I've seen online, he's kind of a turkey. Like I hear he's kind of a dickhead. Not confirmed, but
Every interview, he's just angry.
yeah.
So
It's interesting what you said earlier in the top of the show, Des. We're going to lean into the pop and a little bit of electronic drums and replace him with Roger Taylor from Duran Duran.
Bravo, sir. Bravo, sir.
And
I love that.
I wrote that before.
I love that. So everybody was feeling my Duran Duran take on Ratt. Lisa.
I like this lineup. I don't really see a need for a replacement here, but I'm gonna remove Robin Crosby and replace him with Jakey Lee, who did play for a minute in this band because of the nice work between Jakey Lee and Warren on a couple of albums. So
Boy, the struggle you would get between those two fighting
Mhm.
over fucking who's going to play the solo.
Yeah,
But-
Guitar Wars.
But
Yes.
maybe if Robin could have been in another band as the actual lead guitarist, he would still be alive today as well.
Yeah.
So
I have a feeling that there would have been new things to blame his addictions on.
maybe.
Okay, so that's it. Let's do some final thoughts and we'll score this thing. I absolutely love Ratt, and this is one of their best albums. It's a complete album for me from track 1 to 10. With that being said, this is not a 100-watt album, and it's not as good as Out of the Cellar, which I gave a 97.9. But it is damn close. So for me, this album is pushing 95.1 watts. It's a fucking epic album that's a good listen anytime. I will definitely listen to it again. Dave.
Definitely a solid album. Ratt classic, short and sweet, at 10 songs, 37 minutes. Nothing? Okay.
In a row?
Sorry, I was daydreaming about that diaper and taco.
Oh, no.
In a row?
Try not to
In a row.
shred any
Goodness.
guitar solos on your way out to the parking lot.
Oh, shit. Hey, get back here.
They may have wanted to separate the two hit songs, track 1 and track 3, maybe one on each side of the record. But like I said, there's no bad songs. Maybe if they threw in like a real ballad, it might have helped break up the, every song kind of sounding the same, but it's short enough where it wasn't that bad. No real complaints. I will definitely re-listen. My score is 74.6.
For anybody out there wondering, it's from the movie Clerks. If you know, you know. Lisa.
I think I agree with you that it really did need a power ballad.
Yes,
Yeah.
it did need a power ballad.
Yeah, I always liked Ratt back in the day. I found them dirtier and edgier than some of the squeaky clean bands like Bon Jovi, and I liked them better for it. I've always loved the hits. I'll still listen to You're in Love and Way Cool Jr. and apparently Lay It Down now. I don't know why Way Cool Jr. sticks with me. I really love that song. I know
Me neither.
Dave isn't a big fan of it either.
Well, I like it fine.
Yeah, they have.
It's fine.
I said, why don't you cover that in your band? Apparently, there's a horn section on it. I don't even realize. that.
Yes.
Yeah.
Keyboard horns,
Yeah.
probably,
Yeah.
but
Yep.
maybe real. I don't know.
Yeah, I think their songs are basic, pretty easy for bands to play. There's not a lot of super high notes, not a lot of super complex shreddy guitar solos that break guitar players' spirits like some other bands. Maybe White Lion would be one of those.
Oh,
I don't know.
God.
Guitar playing is pretty tough on
Vito
on,
Brato.
Ratt too.
Yeah. But the songs aren't really memorable enough for me that I would remember the guitar solos note for note. So maybe I don't care how they play the solos when they covered the songs. This album had some surprises for me, some that I remembered a lot more than others. And the song, and it was really surprising to me that basically the whole thing was written and arranged so well. Coming off their previous album with their absolutely monster hit Round and Round, this one may have been a little less exciting for me, but there are some solid songs that will last. And when people talk about glam metal bands from the 80s, they definitely will always mention Ratt. It's a good listen. I'm giving this album an 84.2. I immediately thought, when you called this album last time we recorded, I immediately thought I would be a no re-listen on this album for me, but I'm going to say yes, re-listen.
Nice. So there you go. Ratt. Invasion of your privacy. Good. We were discussing just, when you grow up with something as a child, 15, 16, 17, and it's something that, like you were saying, you have no connection to this song, Lisa, that's important for you, having a connection to an album with
Yeah.
a time in your life. And, I was talking about Twilight Zone, the movie, and Dylan had never seen it. I'm like, oh, it's a great movie, and I
good.
showed her the trailer, and she's like, it doesn't look like something like that I have to see.
Oh, it's great.
And it is, but it's like with this album, is it a 95.1? I don't know, but it's something that I grew up on. So nostalgically, maybe it sounds a little better to me than it would to somebody else, right?
Mhm.
But there you go. So Lisa, add it up. Where does it land?
So on the Violent Vinyl album chart, Ratt, Invasion of Your Privacy from 1985 comes in at number 7 with a total score of 84.63, just below Cinderella's Night Songs, and actually technically tied with Nine Inch Nails' Pretty Hate Machine.
I think this is better than that Cinderella album, in my opinion. But I mean, it's all in the ballpark.
Hmm.
It's all in the ballpark. Okay, and it's hard to compare it to Pretty Hate Machine. They're both good albums, I
Yeah.
guess. Lisa, you have the next pick.
I do.
Please tell us and the listeners what our homework assignment will be for the next 2 weeks.
Okay, so for the Should They Have Made It, we did establish the rules in the last recording, basically that the band can't have a major label album.
Take
So-
Rock City Angels out.
Yeah, so I'm pretty happy about this. I'm going to pick the Zeros, Love's Not Fair.
Just watched a video last night.
Oh, did you really?
Yeah,
Random.
I watched. No, it's not. I watch that video all the time.
So this isn't actually my favorite song by them. I actually like Pina Colada Bang better, but that's just kind of a fun punk song, right? And just so that everyone knows, we'll put a link to the video up there. But there is another band called the Zeros, which is also a punk band from 1976. They are actually like a pioneer punk band, the Zeros. We're not talking about them. We're talking about the Zeros band with the purple hair, formed in New Jersey in 1982. So
my favorite Zero song is Outcast of Society. My girl, she don't care that my nose is big and I have long purple. So
yeah,
good.
great song.
So good.
Yeah.
So good. So there you go.
Okay.
And the album, Lisa.
Next album will be White Lion's Pride.
Yeah.
And listen, I didn't fucking make you guys listen to fucking Queensryche Operation Mindcrime. You're going to make me listen to fucking White Lion.
Oh my god, it's a great album. I
I
love
just
it.
shit my pants.
Oh, you're terrible.
God, White Lion.
Don't you do
Okay.
Mike Tramp like that.
Oh God! All right, I'm looking forward to it because I know Vito Brato is an amazing guitar player.
And
I-
Dave greatly struggles with those solos in his current band, Gypsy Freaks.
Yep. I now hate Vito Bratta for making such complicated solos. He's a bastard.
So what we do on this show is we've said it, maybe introduce you to an album you've never heard before. This is an album I've never heard before. All I know is, what is it?
When the Children Cry
When the Children Cry
and Wait.
When the
children
cry.
Dude, I must confess, I remember liking Wait.
Thank
Is that on
you.
this?
It's a-
Is that on
yes,
this album?
And it's a
Okay.
great song.
Okay, so there you go.
And
That's cool.
I am not allowed to post my videos of Dave and his band playing this song. Dave, tell them why.
Because I fuck up the solo every goddamn time, and I still
Please
can't
don't.
play it right.
Please send me a video of Dave playing
I
this
will.
solo. I would like. So it's White Lion, and what's the album?
Pride.
Pride.
It's the one with the actual white lion face on the front of it.
This album would probably be very popular today.
Mm.
So there you go, folks. On Hey, Did You Ever See That Movie? We will be breaking down Hall Pass. Hall Pass.
Oh, that's a good one.
It is a fun movie. I
Yeah.
like it a lot. So there you go. Until next time, take those albums out of the sleeve and let the music breathe. See you next time.